to tee it all off, and the action here at Daytona has never disappointed. From Dale Earnhardt trying to get his very first victory and finally getting it in 1998 to first-time winners ever with Trevor Bayne getting that finish back in 2010, I believe it was. Everybody here has, I mean, you want the trophy. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Daytona is a championship in itself.
And it's the perfect start to a season like this, especially at full length. And we'll look at a race analysis for tonight's 500-miler from the World Center of Racing. That's it, 500 miles, 200 laps, full-length race here in Daytona Beach, Florida. Pit road speed at 55 miles an hour won't matter for now as we drop the green. Will matter a little later in this race. Tire sets available are 5. We have 3 green-white checkered attempts if we need to extend this race past lap 200, and we have stage racing, which will award the points to the drivers in the field tonight. Our stages go like this. Our first stage ends at lap 65. We go another 65 to close out stage 2 at lap 130, and then we run the final 70 as we can to lap 200 and to the checkered flag. Drivers are trackside. Let's get you the starting grid of the first race in Season 7 for the Sunoco Cup Series. And it all starts with Full Lock Racing. Shane White in the number 27, sharing the front row with the Oklahoma native Mario Miranda on the outside of the front row. Ross Harlow, Season 4 champion, looking to win here at the World Center of Racing tonight. He rolls off from 3rd. Colin Forster, the Florida driver, going to be on his outside in position number 4. Row number 3 features the number 45 of James Kunkel in his Toyota Camry. Kip Easley, who joins the Drinkin' Bros Racing Chevrolet camp, he'll be on the outside in position number 6. 7th place goes to the new rookie Jonathan Cofield in the 58. Alex Muscarella, the Matza Man in the number 48 machine, will roll off from 8th. And the final 2 in your top 10 for the starting grid, Bill Schoonover in the 9 and Austin Reedy, Season 5 winner here in the 10th position.
11th spot's going to belong to Curtis Kelly with Jesse Winnington in 12th spot. You've got Steven Stympian in 13th with Isaac Mock, 14th position. 15th spot goes to Joe Sanchez with Justin Hendry in 16th. And then it's Zach Wilson, a name I'm familiar with, and Justin Winters in 18th. Rounding out your top 20 here tonight, it's Brad Fulham and Chris Progar in 20th.
We'll look through the grid. 21st on back. A big note to tell you about the driver of the number 30, Wyatt Brackett, gets an end-of-line penalty for missing the roll call at the driver's meeting, so he'll have to start at the very tail end of the field. We'll look for the first green flag of 2024 in the Sunoco Cup Series. It is Shane Wyatt, Mario Miranda, the Chevrolet, and the Toyota to the green flag. We're racing at Daytona. Shane Wyatt drops back to 3rd. Mario Miranda assumes the race lead at the completion of lap number 1. Outside line looking to build up. Kip Easley leading that group with pushes from Alex Muscarella and some others behind them. Austin Reedy going to be the 3rd car in line, looking to assist the top crew. So far, Bradley out of turn 2, all the inside lane, and no time wasted for the 99 of Mario Miranda to get up to the front.
He did well. He got down in front of the guys that he needed to get in front of, but you got to wonder, is that outside line building momentum? We know that that side force that these cars create, you can actually stop the momentum if you get down and pinch. We're not seeing that right now. They're trying to build some steam. Some guys shuffling around there about the 5th position. That's the 45 of James Kunkel. Not sure if he was going to move up in front. He's kind of waiting for this outside line as he drafts behind the 3 of Harlow.
Some of them trying to duck out of line, but like we said, just waiting for the moment to strike when Kip Easley and company can get all the momentum in the world, specifically out of the corners. And what you'll see over the first several laps, especially with the 200 lappers, you'll see a lot of comfort early on. Drivers really trying to settle into a decent position, or guys just really hanging around, whether at the front, the middle, or the rear, in order to make sure that A, they don't jump their race car so early in a 200 lap race, but also the fact that, you know, they get to sort of get a feel for what's happening around them, the drivers, where they're going, what kind of style of driving they're implementing in the draft, how hard they're pushing, and just a bunch of ultimate factors that can make you make that decision as a driver. Bradley, should I work with them or not? Where do I go to start this race? It looks like most of the field electing to go to that very bottom lane and stay single file, putting a lot of separation between them, while Alex Muscarella is sort of nudging Kip Easley to go, and push themselves to the front, although they've lost a lot of guys on the top.
Yeah, that outside line kind of fell apart. They fell back about a car length. You see the 58 of Cofield moves up to the 6th position. Inside has been pretty organized thus far, and Mario Miranda comes back around to lead another lap. So what you mentioned there with talking about how these guys are feeling each other out, we said we were going to see it in real time with the team changes, the rivalries, all the stuff in the postseason, in the offseason. Well, you're seeing it right here as we come around for lap 5.
Oh, and the 48, giving the shove to the 8 in the middle of the tri-oval, got him way sideways and almost sent him completely down the track into the car right below, and the 9 machine of Bill Schoonover. That could have been absolutely disastrous, and this 48 car is trying to push easily to the front. Although it doesn't seem to be working quite a bit. It looks like on the back straightaway, now they're going to get ahead of steam. Kip Easley is going to move all the way up to the top 6, maybe even the top 5 as he looks on top of the 45. James Kunkel, but that could have been really sketchy. And Bradley, with these next-gen cars, they get very twitchy. It is somewhat hard to handle them, and it could really rip out of your hands at a moment's notice. Kip Easley has to be really careful here at the lead of this second group.
As we go back on board with the 8 car, watch the wheel, and you can kind of see the mirror up there at the top, but he's got a mirror full of the 48 car. He's had it since we began this race. At the wrong point in this racetrack right now, I'd say the tri-oval's the worst place imaginable, as you see a jump up here to the top right in front of the 8 car, and they go 3 wide down the backstretch.
They're going to pull the trigger. Here comes Kip Easley with a move through the middle, 3 wide, and it won't work. He tried to look right under and get in front of the 99 of Miranda, but instead the 8 car is going to get put in the sucker hole. We'll see that a ton tonight at this 2.5-mile super speedway. He'll get stuck in the middle with no help. Shane Wyatt will try to take second away as he moves right behind this 99 of Colin Forster, rather the 99 of Miranda, but Colin Forster, meanwhile, in the 31, he's going to lead this second line, pushed by the 48. I guess that's what there was waiting for, Bradley, was one driver to gain a move up, as that outside lane had a lot of momentum behind them, and unfortunately sort of split Kip Easley out of the way, and all of a sudden Kip Easley goes from top 5 to top 15.
Well, that's the disadvantage of Discord here. You know, a lot of teams in real life don't get to talk to each other directly as in real time versus these drivers who are communicating constantly. So if a move's going to be made and you see another block here in the front, the 99 jumps up in front of the 31. Very aggressive on lap 7, but he's playing both lines.
Miranda looking to control the outside lane. This is really the first time that we're seeing this top group gain any sort of advantage over everyone on the bottom. Muscarella is going to stay 3rd in this group. He almost hit the outside wall on the way to turn 1, but Miranda is going to have the advantage. Now Shane Wyatt moving through on the inside. He'll get the push from Ross Harlow in the number 3 Chevrolet Camaro. So the 2 bow ties going to work together to take away the lead away from the 99. There's a great look on board with Wyatt's number 27 SimWrapMarket.com machine. And right under Colin Forster, that Dunkin' Donuts Toyota Camry. Forster, a one-time winner back in Season 6 at the Michigan International Speedway. That win came right at the end of the season, right before Homestead, Miami. Got him right to the championship 4. Unfortunately, could not convert. And now with a brand new look, a brand new manufacturer, and in that case, Bradley Cooper, a brand new team that he's rolling with for this season. It's going to be a lot of fun to see exactly what Forster can do in his second full-time effort in this series.
When you get a lot of new things, it kind of changes your mentality. It maybe makes you or helps you forget what happened previously. And like you said, at the very end of the season, got a victory, got that confidence, and got some eyes on him, so that might have been part of why he has a new manufacturer, a new team.
And so he remains second on that outside. And also to mention, with the Fast Banana Camp, they were formerly Chevrolets, but Colin Forrester and that entire camp has moved over to the Toyota side of things. And how about the new Toyota Camry? I mean, we're seeing two of them already at the front of the field, and a part of the new mold for the Camrys in 2024 in real life and in the sim as Miranda gets pushed to the inside at the front of the field, still leading here at lap number 10, is that the bumpers at the front are much flatter than they were in the previous mold of that Toyota Camry. They also updated the Ford Mustang, so we'll talk about those dark horse models in just a little bit when we have a Ford Mustang driver that we can talk about in just a couple of moments. But one thing that is notable about those new Toyota Camry noses, they are flat and they work well when you push at a super speedway.
Here's a good look at it right there. You can see right underneath that Toyota logo where the Camry letters are, it's nice and flat. It gets right up on the bumper. And if we look from the front end of, I believe that's the 45 there on the inside, he's matched up pretty perfectly here with the back of that Camaro. They've been pushing decently, but you don't want to push too much when you're 3-4 cars back. Now on that outside line, you've got the Camaro of Muscarella pushing the back of the Camry. You can see how twitchy they are on the outside. He's trying to match up with that bumper at Forrester right now as they go down the backstretch, but a little more difficult.
Something that certainly hampered the Chevrolets when they entered with the Camaro, not only in 2018, but when they went to the next gens in 2022, was the really pointy noses. I mean, the Chevrolet Camaro in real life, it does have a really pointy nose. If you look at it on the street, they tried to mold it the right way, like it is on the street model, to the race car model, but it doesn't translate well at the super speedways. But looks like working wonders for Muscarella right now. Going to push Forrester to the lead. There goes the Fast Banana Camry of Austin Reedy sliding down low. He'll get the help monumentally on the inside from Miranda, and it's a Fast Banana 1-2 inside and outside.
Leading drop down to the inside line for the 96 of Austin Reedy, and now Mario Miranda tries to answer the call. The big momentum there from the 31 car as we stay up front. But everybody kind of back from 10th place back is just riding around this track right now, being very patient as we get to lap 13.
And Austin Reedy is going to lead this lap. What's going to be 13 completed out of the 200 scheduled. Reedy led 36 of the 200 laps in that Season 5 opener, and he was able to take the victory over Richard Swavely by a pretty slim margin at the start-finish line. Here he holds on to command at the front. Only about 3 or so cars leading at the very top before separation ensues. And then you have the next car in line, the 47 of Isaac Mock, driving with his Toyota Camry. And so he's going to try and catch up to the rest of the group. And in the middle of that, Bradley Cooper is Steven Stepien. Brand new car, brand new manufacturer, and with dropping the hammer, the new team for car number 88. Steven Stepien, a former championship Ford driver from last season. How about enticing Dale Jr. colors from that 2014 500 win? He steps into third on the top lane.
That's a sharp-looking machine, a little nostalgia on the 88 National Guard Chevrolet, and as he works up to the back bumper of Muscarella, he's up about 7 positions, as we come out of turn 2. So a decent run here on the outside. It's came and went. We've seen the outside get disorganized. There was a pretty sizable gap in the top 3 that were on that outside, and you can see it kind of come and go. It grows and shrinks. Nobody really electing to take and fill that hole. They're pretty much stuck to the bottom right now.
Stepien, one of 3 drivers currently in the top 10 that started outside of the top 10, and he rolled off on the grid from 13th and moving up inside the top 6. So Steven Stepien will keep an eye on that 88 Chevrolet as the field 2x2 almost all the way down. They're catching lap traffic in the form of the 28. Casey Neiden is going to be at the very back, so he might get lapped before we complete lap number 20 here from Daytona. There's a look at Neiden's number 28. He is all by his lonesome. He started this race in 37th and unfortunately has not been able to catch back up to the draft, so he will go a lap down unless we do get a yellow on track. And you were looking a little further back in the field as it thins out to single file action. Colin Forrester, by the way, takes the race lead away from Alex Muscarella. No catch up to Neiden here, who will let them go at the exit of 4.
Muscarella on the outside will lead this time by, but I saw a little turbulence there in the 31 and tagged the apron as he changed lines. You said how this car can kind of snap out of your hands with that turbulence that you get from the cars changing lines like that. It's almost like there's a car in front of you when someone's right up on your rear bumper.
It gets really sketchy, and these cars, specifically Bradley, out of the corners. I mean, off of the corner, you would expect this car to be stable with the amount of downforce that it has in comparison to, let's say, the Gen 6 of prior years. But no, this car can snap out of your control. It can get really loose in the way it's all set up, specifically with a pretty hot track temperature, which is what we have today at 134 degrees on the track temp here at Daytona Beach, Florida. It does not make for a nice combo handling-wise, so you really have to factor in that balance of how fast you're going, number one, but how under control of the race car are you, number two. Great fast banana race for the lead up at the front. Austin Reedy moves to the top, pushed by the 48 of Muscarella, and there goes Muscarella. He was tired of being second fiddle for the first 17 laps. Muscarella to the lead.
He's pushed about 6 different drivers up there to the front, so why not?
So the 48 of Muscarella takes over the command of this season opener. There goes Reedy, now a new pusher in the form of the 88, Steven Stempian. Gonna make this challenge happen at the very outside, exiting turn 4. So this race certainly not done yet. A lot of clean action here at the front in the first 17 laps here from the World Center of Racing. But I want to toss back to Bradley, a shot that you turned to a little earlier when we were talking about Casey Knighton, the lapped car that just got lapped by the field. Everybody in the back that's all hanging around single file. We've been focused on a lot of the double file racing at the front, but look back here. We have a whole host of drivers that are running single file. One of those drivers included, there's the 7 of Chris Progar in 35th, but another one, if you look further up the field, it's the 2-time champ Lawson Peel running in 30th place. He sits behind his Drinkin' Bros Racing teammates, Brandon Banks and Joe Sanchez. There they are as they enter turns 1 and 2 once again here on lap number 18. And for Peel, I mean, he was one of those drivers, Bradley, that did not take a time in qualifying, and while he has gained 3 spots since the drop of the green flag, he's employing the strategy of, let's have the chaos happen in front of me. I'll have enough time to slow down if the yellow does come out up at the very front. Let's hang around, let's save some fuel, and let's just run a calm start to this race at Daytona.
Yeah, and that's a strategy that if you're beyond 10th position, you just kind of have to run with that. Don't lose the draft, stay with the pack, but overall, you got to stay out of harm's way, and it's bound to happen. We might not see it happen. You never know, and that's the gamble you take as a driver sitting back here. I'm sure with 20, 30 to go, you'll see the heat turn up, and Lawson won't be content running back here. He's got Eddie Smith in the 87 behind him, so he does have someone that could go with him. The outside line has not really worked its way this deep into the field.
That's a great point you make there, Bradley. He's got his teammates ahead of him, so if he does want to hit the go button right now at lap 20, let's say if he does have a lot of patronage ahead of him to give him that green light and support his decision. Of course, all of these drivers, mostly in voice chats on this Discord server, the Sunoco Cup Series, so a lot of them constantly in communication with each other just to make sure they either have a game plan together, or if they don't, try to figure one out in real time. There's Steven Stempian, who took away the top spot from the 48 of Alex Muscarella. So bring in Steven Stempian as the newest lead change here from Daytona Beach, Florida. And for Lawson Peel, I mean, he's definitely not new to coming from the back to win. And the last time we were at Daytona, where he did pick up the checkered flag in season 6, he rolled off from deep in the field in 32nd. Right now, 30th is where he runs. So pretty sane start to the race for Peel and the former 2-time champ. We'll see if he can come back up to the front and make things happen near the end. Here's a new challenger, Bradley, in the form of the 47, Isaac Mock. How about him making this move up to the front? Big push from Miranda, and those are race team teammates. Those two Camrys on the inside getting to work.
But you see the positions gained. Very few people have been willing to go through this field. The 2 front runners right now is Stempian and Mock, 12 and 11 positions respectively. So they're competing right now for not only the lead, but for the most positions gained as this top 10 has shuffled around.
Started 14th in this race. The only other bigger mover inside the top 10 now is Justin Hendry, the 85 car. Moved up from 16th, and now he's up to the 8th position. Sort of that dark burgundy red crimson car. I just said maybe 3 different descriptions of the same color, but that Dark Horse Ford Mustang at the top. There he is.
Dark Horse red. We'll go with that. That's
Beautiful colors,
car.
though. Yeah, well, I mean, you could say that for almost every car in this series, Bradley. Almost every one of them designed beautifully, and it doesn't matter whether they were inspired from real life or not. They look good on track, as there's Isaac Mock, challenge for the lead out of 4.
So to the inside, looks like the outside's going to prevail here. It just seems to get a better run out of the corners, but into the turn, that shorter way around the racetrack, as long as that outside line is keeping that car width gap between, they don't really stall the run, and they can continue to make that surge. You're going to see the 47 and the 99 again get a good push here on the exit of 2, and then the 88-48 going to get connected back on the bumper and push ahead.
Isaac Mock doing a great job, and he'll get the push here from his teammate once again. Although Steven Stempien and Muscarella, the momentum off the corner is too much for them to deny. And so Steven Stempien will have the advantage out of turn 2. Coming to turns 3 and 4, Mock will have the shorter way around the racetrack. Mock does have good finishes here at these super speedways, and last time we were here, he finished in second. Certainly knows how to make carnage right behind them, and that is the 85, Justin Hendry, and there is James Kunkel involved, our first yellow here at lap 24.
I saw that happening. They were 3 wide as they came out of turn 4, and I thought the one would know he was up there, but he kind of kept crowding and then eventually got turned towards the outside wall. Still trying to get that machine facing the right direction here. We have our first caution on lap 24 across the line.
You know, we sort of foreshadowed this, our first caution here at lap 24, but the reason for it, culprit, a loose race car out of the final corner. There's the 85 of Hendry getting into Kunkel. We'll look a little further back if we can out of the final corner. This 85 car and this Mustang was way out of shape, went right up to the outside wall, almost hit it, and that car could have almost smacked directly into the 94 Whittington. Watch this from Kunkel's perspective. That 85 sideways, moves up the track. There's nowhere for the 45 to go.
And just lucky more cars didn't get collected, and that goes back to what we said about Lawson Peel. It's bound to happen. It can happen at any time, and it happens about mid-pack. But wow, he was sideways off of 4. I thought he caught it, but apparently still trying to get it underneath.
Almost looked like Eric Jones in Atlanta qualifying a couple of days ago. That car was sideways. He did a great job of collecting it, but just didn't know he was not clear at the very top. So Kunkel filled that space. All of a sudden, Hendry gets into him. The good news for both of them, they didn't really suffer all that much damage. It was a pretty light bit of contact between the two. So it won't be race ending for them, but for Hendry, certainly going to hamper him track position-wise. First attempt for pit road for all of the drivers. Looks like Stempien overshot it by just a hair, had to back up for a split second. Everyone else is in for the first batch of service on lap 25.
So the first pit stall here with Shane Wyatt. He's going to have the advantage for the cone. He's going to get out about the second position. The 88 wins the battle off of pit road. Steven Stempien comes out, your leader. He's going to retain that lead. Isaac Mock lost a couple positions there on pit road, but he's back to 4th. Mario Miranda in 3rd. And then Alex Muscarella going to come out in the top 5.
How about Alex Muscarella in this 48 car? What a job he's doing pushing up at the front of the field. Did take the lead away, led a couple of laps, but so far has been pretty much the pioneer in getting drivers to the front as opposed to being that guy leading everyone ahead of the field. He's going to come out in 5th. And like you said there, Steven Stempien going to win the race off of pit road. A lot of these pit times clocking in at around 11.5 to 12 seconds. So for the most part, they're going to be fuel only, not a lot of elections for tires at this stage of the race. Still very early, lap 25, but we still have about 40 laps before we get to the end of stage 1 to fully hand out some points. So Bradley, there's still a lot of racing to go, and it's felt like we've been running for the last lap for several laps with the way things are going.
Well, it's been an excellent action-packed race so far. You're starting to see that tempo pick up as we approach the stage number 1 end on lap 65. We're going to take a quick commercial break here live on VSPEED, the Sunoco Cup Series, live at Daytona for season number 7. We'll be back right after this.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
First round of stops under yellow, lap 26 will be complete, this time by, and the leader out of pit road, Steven Stempien, will take us back to the restart here at the World Center of Racing, back under green from Daytona. Great start by Steven Stempien. Shane Wyatt looking to get the push from the 47 of Isaac Bach right behind him, but Mario Miranda giving the shove to Stempien, going to give him the lead for the moment, and here comes Wyatt fighting back in turn 2.
Stempien's got a good pusher on the back end, but not sure if he's willing to work. He was working with different characters. You see a few dropping out in the backstretch there as they come down to try to get out of this carnage. They see him 2 wide, 3 wide at some point there as they came out of 3, or out of 2 rather. And the 88's going to surge ahead with Miranda giving a good push down the backstretch.
The 32 of Richard Swavely, the 12 of Lawson Peel among those that swooped out of line just to get out of harm's way, but it remains door to door. Exiting the 4th corner to the trial, Steven Stempien is going to stay ahead and lead lap number 27. Big push by Miranda, almost got him out of shape, and now here comes Wyatt. Big push into turn 1.
That was a shove through the tri-oval, and we saw that earlier in the race where it got a guy a little out of shape, but it didn't seem to affect him too much, and he got a big head of speed. He's going to consider, I thought he was going to drop down maybe in front of the 88 car and do kind of Miranda where he would play different lines. He's still getting a push from Mach.
Just got to be really careful, though, when you're pushing a driver to the lead. And I know we talked about those Camry new bumpers being rather flat in comparison to some of the other manufacturers. We'll take a good look at it here from the look on the back of the 27. You don't want to be too aggressive to the point where you turn a car. There's one car down to the apron. That's the 4 of Chris Shoemaker. And he's going to stay in line. We're going to stay green. And he got out of shape exiting 4.
Take a look back here on the instant replay as he comes off of turn 4. He was down there by himself. Not sure if this car just got out of control. When you fuel these things up, they can get a little loose. He tagged the apron, it looks like.
And that 4 car just got sideways, hooked that way coming out of the 4th corner. Nice job by Shoemaker to hold on to it and forbid another caution flag from coming out here at lap number 29. But there he is at the cost of almost losing the draft from this main pack. Meanwhile, at the front, the Chevrolets continue to command both operating lanes. Steven Stempien gonna push ahead. This one, a big one from the 99 of Miranda right behind him. Isaac Mach swerves around looking for some open space to give this shove to the 27 car, and Steven Stempien, I think this is probably a comfortable place if you're Stempien. A lot of super speedway experience, of course a lot of experience with the competition in this series. He knows a thing or two about just commanding lanes and making sure that everyone stays behind you. But Bradley, when you're mostly operating by looking out of the rearview mirror more than you are out of your windshield, it can be a pretty stressful job leading a super speedway race.
Well, especially when the guy that's in your mirror isn't just in your mirror, but he's in your rear bumper, and you're feeling the turbulence from his car pushing yours. The back tires get really light. You can't make any sudden movements. You got to focus on what's out your windshield to keep that car straight, but at the same time, you got to drag that brake and stay connected. There's a lot going on. It's an art to racing at a super speedway, completely different than what we see anywhere else.
And with these next-gen cars, you know, some of the drafting and blocking can be fully exacerbated. Although this outside line sort of fizzled out a bit with the 47 in command, but with the way you can get runs off of these next-gen cars, it's sort of like being face-to-face with a tsunami. Either you can give it a plastic cup and hope that it swallows enough water, or you can manage to get a whole dam together, a wall in a couple of seconds' time to be able to fully stop any pressure from that lane that wants to gain the advantage on you. But so far, no pressure from that inside lane. They're holding things together quite smoothly. And I'm not sure exactly, Bradley, how this second lane got out of shape and disorganized. Colin Forster, good look on board with him as he pushes this 47. They have lost a lot of ground.
Well, you compared it to a cup or a dam, and right now, you've got a plastic cup. They have not been able to stop this flow of the inside passing them. There's the 51 of Zach Wilson now up 10 spots to 7. So they've fallen back from what would have been about the 3rd position to almost out of the top 10. And with only 5 cars, it's going to be tough to surge back up there.
So all these guys on the outside lane, less numbers compared to everyone who seems to be quite content running at the very bottom of this racetrack. Count that at a mere 5 cars up there on this middle lane. It might even be reduced a little more. Shane Wyatt just moved out to the middle lane. He's going to get put in the middle of this mess, heart of the pack in the middle of the top 10. And there's a lap car on the way. That is going to be the 45 of Kunkel involved in that first incident. You didn't see it quite there. With the 27 of Shane Wyatt moved out of lane, he has since gone down to the bottom as there is that number 45 Sirius XM Toyota Camry of James Kunkel trying to find his footing straight off of pit road. He is 8 laps down.
And then you mentioned the 27. He falls back to 13th. He was on the outside line there fighting for the lead. Not sure if he did that purposely and got out of line to just fall back. Maybe felt the pressure was a little too high for this early in the race as we are at the halfway mark to the stage 1 at lap 65. Coming around for another lap led. The 88 car has been pretty dominant since about lap 20.
This 88 car is going to hold serve out in front, still looking to see if that outside lane gains any momentum and starts to build some numbers together. What I want to look back to is what's going to be 25th on back, because we have seen a pretty considerable second group building up, and even then, they're sort of thinning out. This starts with Lawson Peel, the Season 6 and defending series champion, with his teammate, Joe Sanchez, that Ally Chevrolet right behind him, and they were sort of fizzling out right behind them to sort of get their settling down, Bradley, but they have Chris Progar, Brandon Banks, Sean Kalis, Aaron Adcock, and Eddie Smith tailing this group that goes back to 31st place. This could be almost dangerous, Bradley, because everyone else at the front, they've got a pretty consistent pack. They know they're going to be all together. They know if this race goes up until lap number 65 and we have some sort of strategy in the mix, that they could go down pit road together, and they won't really have that much for concern. But for Lawson Peel in this secondary group, they have lost the draft completely. So now the game plan completely alters for them on how they're either going to get back to the front or change the strategy game up in order to gain that advantage.
Well, right now, you got to consider at lap 65, there's points on the line, and you're now out of reach of getting those. So now that's the only thing you can really discuss is, okay, we're coming down pit road together. At what point as a driver do you decide that the championship here or the points, as they get a little squirrely there, the 12 gets shoved down a line, he comes back up in front of the 55. They're having a lot of problems back here just staying organized.
Yeah, they are really all over the place, and that could have easily been our second caution of the day. Joe Sanchez getting to the back of his teammate Lawson Peel, and he is right on his back bumper. He really wants to push him forward, and they may catch up to the next car in line who was just lost the sniff of the draft ahead of him. You see that lone car in that Chevrolet. That's Bill Schoonover in the 9. So the 12 car can pick up an extra guy here in just several moments. But we'll see exactly how that all shakes out. We are halfway through the first stage at the midway point, and so far Steven Stempien remains in control. And Bradley, if you're anyone's second on back, let's say you're Miranda, Muscarella, Ross Harlow, Zach Wilson, some of those guys, including the 48 and the 99, have been aggressive in pushing drivers to the front and altering lines. Is now the time to hang back and wait, or do you see this 96 car of Austin Reedy and say, Let's go up there. Let's take the lead away.
I think right now with just 4 cars on the outside, it's kind of tough to really decide anything. You're at the fate of how many people want to take that outside line. I know that the 96 wants to remain up here into the top 5, so he has a fighting chance to get that stage victory. But on that inside line, you've got 3 drivers that have been very good about pushing guys up to the front and have the speed. There's the 48 drops down for a moment. Not sure if he maybe got some turbulence or got loose. Outside line not organized. I think they actually could decide what this outside line does if it comes down to lap 62.
And the drivers that have completely changed the momentum for that second lane, you see them there on the front end of your screen. Austin Reedy and Curtis Kelly, the 96 and the 71, the pair of teammates from Fast Banana Racing. They have certainly gotten this second line to get a bit more motivation, and they have broken back into the top 5 as there's a look on board with the Teamer Designs number 96 of Reedy, who is falling back quite a bit, but he knows he's got some firepower behind him in the form of his teammate and the other guys who are starting to propel this outside lane forward. So it really could change the perspective of this entire run if Austin Reedy and Curtis Kelly can make sure this happens here. It looks like they went to boom with full surround sound like their JID and 21 Savage. This 96 car is making it happen. They fell back quite a bit, but they do pose a threat to those guys on the bottom now.
Curtis Kelly building up some momentum here. First time that we've kind of mentioned his name since qualifying, and the 71 car gets the back bumper glued to that Camry. They surge back ahead. They're about 5th position. It's starting to reorganize on that outside, and if you're at the top 5, you got to start taking that into consideration.
And for the 71 of Curtis Kelly, he is looking to get to another winning race on a super speedway. He kicked off season 6 with a W at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, but ever since, he hasn't been able to do so hot at the super speedways. 20th at Talladega, and at the Daytona International Speedway, unfortunately, he didn't even make that race back in season 6 of 2023. So for Curtis Kelly, he's looking to somewhat flip the script as he runs second on that outside line, and we'll keep eye on them as it's mostly occupied by Toyota Camrys on the outside of the racetrack as they look to side draft here with this car you're looking on board with now. This is Zach Wilson in the number 51 machine. Zach Wilson, a part of the sweeping changes to season 7 of the Sunoco Cup Series. Wilson, in his number 51 Ford Mustang, moves over to RTR Motorsports and bands with that new team, Brad Fulham and Justin Hendry. So they certainly have made things work together for the offseason and till this season. And there goes the outside group, Austin Reedy and Curtis Kelly, pushing forward to the top 3.
They're not staying as organized as I've seen the outside line do. When you had Muscarella up there, he was glued to the back bumper almost all the way through the turn versus the 71 right now. Kelly, he's kind of given a gap, almost a car length gap as they come through the corner. And you can see down the backstretch, they're not getting that run off these other guys have been getting.
I just want to correct myself there. It was not a new team for Zach Wilson, but a new Mustang for sure, and new colors for his team, Watson Racing, number 51. Look at the lap car right in front of James Kuckel. Moved out of the way at the very last second. Got Steven Stepien out of the way for a moment. Miranda almost forced to move to the inside, and there's the 45 letting everyone go. That was really chaotic, Bradley Cooper. And one thing that we also talk about too at these super speedways, the lap traffic. Everyone by themselves or in some smaller groups, they're going to get absolutely hounded by these larger packs, specifically this one at the front, and it can get really dangerous very quickly.
But as you see Chad explode here, they're seeing all these different names that have been up towards the front. It's hard to pick a car that can win this stage. You've got the 88, but if I know one thing about super speedways, I don't want to be anywhere near that lead position when they come off of turn 4. It almost seems poetic how these guys will just kind of set you up for a pass as you exit turn 4.
It's the easiest case of you almost got it and then you don't. You run out of turn 4 with the race lead, and all of a sudden you have maybe 3 or 4 cars making moves on either side of your race car, and you either make that decision: do I block and potentially wreck myself? Do I have enough momentum to keep myself in this lead? Conversation topics we'll have roughly 160 laps from now. But here at lap number 43, Steven Stepien going to still have this momentum, and I guess what I was hyping up on that outside lane turned out to be not for the moment. They seem to dwindle to now only about 4 cars strong on that outside lane, make those all Toyota Camrys, and 3 of them going to be fast banana machines at that. So the teammates really working together. However, you know, you look at Bradley, the lack of momentum from the second group, only these 4 cars, but you're also looking at sort of a blessing in disguise, because as much time as they're giving these 4 cars up in the middle lane is as much time as they're giving the fast banana teammates opportunities lap after lap to work well with each other. And one thing that helps when you're nearing the final laps of a race this long is, number 1, staying around to the end, but number 2, having enough teammates to give you some help.
Yeah, and you get comfortable. You get reliant. You know when that guy's going to hit you on the exit of the corner or exactly on the backstretch or where he's comfortable running. The 71 has started to kind of boost that confidence. You can see he's hugging the back end of that 96 a little more as what we saw earlier. And look at the surge they get out of turn 4 as they pull up to almost side by side with Muscarella and Harlow on the inside there.
It's really big for them, specifically for Reedy and for Kelly. I know Colin Forrester is going to be the 4th car in this group, and they're split by the 47 of Isaac Mock. But nonetheless, the fast banana trio here at the very outside lane, and they're certainly getting their bearings together, and it's helping them, like you said, gain a bit more of that comfort racing at a super speedway and just racing around each other. It gives you that extra boost that you may need to give yourself a shot at winning this deal at the end of the race. There's the 88 of Stempien continuing to lead, and we should expect these drivers, Bradley, probably to come down pit road perhaps in the next 15 to 20 laps. These drivers are going to come across lap 21 on their stint. There's going to be officially 20 laps to go into the end of stage 1, so you might look, Bradley, at a complete window edge for these guys to come down right when either the stage caution is going to come out or right before then.
Well, if you're looking at Steven Stempien, he's been up here leading all these laps. He's had the full force of the wind on the front end of that National Guard Chevrolet Camaro, and that's burning more fuel. So he's going to be on the short end of the window, and he might be one of those cars that has to come down and doesn't have a choice. Whereas if you're Muscarella, Miranda, or people that are deeper in this pack here, you've been able to kind of lift off the throttle and save a little bit. You could make it to the stage break. We could have a surprise win for it.
And then you sort of ask yourself, if everyone else 20th on back, most notably 21st place Joe Sanchez and the secondary group, how much are they saving? Now that they have fallen off of the draft, it's sort of the same problem translated further back. Joe Sanchez is wasting the most fuel at the front. Everybody behind has that opportunity to lag a bit and save, but then it also comes down to how much time you're losing if you have to pit under green as opposed to right at the stage caution at lap 65. We're going to get pretty miraculously close, and the saving efforts could be the difference between being on fumes at the end of stage 1 or being able to comfortably make it and then come down pit road without a hitch. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Riding on board here with the 88, who's led quite a few laps here tonight. 27 and coming across for number 28 as we get the camera view from, I mean, he looks focused. He looks locked in right now.
That is fully locked in, and you'll see that from a lot of the drivers on their cameras. I'd say probably the drivers that look the most locked in, one of them is going to be Steven Stempien, the other is going to be Lawson Field. Both of them are known to keep their composure no matter what situation strikes them. I'm sort of calling them the Iceman of the series, although Lawson is really known as the Iceman when you give him that proper nickname. But Stempien, you know, you can easily say and argue that being up at the front and leading this pack is as easy as pie. It's not. It is really tough, very stressful to hold on to the top position. Make sure you control the tempo of everyone behind you, and also make sure that, you know, under this strategy and moving to stage 1, you can even stay yourself up here to gain the maximum amount of points.
Well, then you talked pre-race about the 99 being kind of the villain here in the league, and what is he planning to do as he's been saving fuel? He has Muscarella, who he knows can push. He gets a little loose there as he tags the apron, but good save into 1 and 2. What is he planning behind the 88 car? That's something else that Stempien's going to have to take into consideration. You got all that empty room to your right. Plenty of time for a move to be made as we approach lap 50.
And also, too, he's asking the question, where are my teammates? He's running in second right now. His closest teammate is going to be Isaac Mock, who's about to fall outside the top 10 and has certainly grown the numbers of this second middle lane. They're going to split here, the 9 of Bill Schoonover, and are approaching another lap car here soon. That should be Casey Knighton in the 28, who is a race team teammate of Miranda. So you've got one driver in the middle of the top 10, another driver who just got lapped, and the 45 of James Kunkel, who is 9 laps down in 39th. Look at how close that got with Casey Knighton. Oh, man.
That was really close. The 30 car tagged maybe the wall and then came down into the door of, I believe that was the 31 machine. That was almost another one just before the stage break.
Oh man, and Casey Neiden is going to tuck right behind the 31 of Colin Forster, and look how much this helped the outside lane. Austin Reedy add a 4 to the lead.
Drops right down in front of the 88 car. This could actually be a blessing in disguise for Stympian. I know he wants to win this stage, but now he's going to have the ability to save a little bit of fuel, and that might help him make it across that line. But man, what a push there on the 96, got him sideways.
He is sideways. He saves it before turn 1. Curtis Kelly is going to take the lead for a split second. Fast Banana is going to control both the inside and the outside, and this is going to help both of them in all that track position needed. About 14 laps before the stage break. This is blown wide open.
The intensity is picking up here, Kenneth, and you can feel it. I know I'm feeling it. I was nervous before this race. Now the nerves are back.
And we saw the contentious activity at the front of the field when we were like this for several laps on end and 2x2 multiple rows deep, but we're back in the very same situation. This time Curtis Kelly is going to take command of the race. How about Zach Wilson moving up top? He's got some hope in what this second lane can provide for him. Looking right behind the rookie driver right in front, and that is going to be Stephen Harlow in the number 33 car. Remember, Ross Harlow in the 3, well now the 33 of Stephen Harlow is going to be there with him.
And down this back straightaway, you've got that 30 machine there in the middle of this pack, Wyatt Brackett, who got close. And then you have Stephen Harlow, Dakota Curtis up here in the mix now. We haven't mentioned his name tonight into the top 10, and that 43 has been creeping up here.
A heap of drivers in this group, Bradley, who have started 20th or worse. Curtis started 23rd in this affair from Daytona. Isaac Mock is going to make his move down low. He'll take over the lead. Colin Forster will get the surge, and look who's up top to help him. Fellow Camry, Colin Forster. But the 99 will get ditched entering turn 1. Colin Forster to the point, lap 53.
All the things you've seen here so far, the changes for the lead are going to get more and more rapid, but that also adds another effect. We have more opportunities for guys to misjudge and bring out a yellow. We're sitting here with about 12 laps to go in this stage, and right now the 31 car taking over. Fast Banana has worked together well. They figured it out, finally getting up here, and now 1, 2, 3, they're going to control the tempo on this inside line.
They basically have all their teammates running inside the top 10. Forster, the leader, then Curtis Kelly in third, Austin Reedy in fourth, and their last teammate, Wyatt Brackett, who's running in the 8th position, is with them too on the top lane. So this is really the first full team effort, Bradley. We're seeing all collectively together and all inside the top 10, and this is going to mean large things for them because as a team, as a cohesive effort, you can make yourself take away positions that other drivers would otherwise take up and thus gain some points over you as a squad. So Fast Banana have positioned themselves wonderfully here at this stage. Going to be 11 laps to go until the end of stage 1. There's Austin Reedy, push from the 99, and Reedy to the point in turn 1.
Miranda not giving up. He doesn't care if he has teammates up there or not. He's going to figure out a way to keep it up here in the top 3 and being in striking distance right now on that outside line. Does he ditch? I mean, he got ditched earlier. Is he looking to do the same to some of these guys?
Well, so far he's got the lead, and the 99 of Miranda has yet to really take control of either lane. He's always been either that second or third car. He's been pretty happy running where he is. But could that change at the end of stage number 1, where all the points are going to matter, and obviously playoff points will take into effect as well? Here's a look from the Budweiser, number 30 of Wyatt Brackett. This is the highest we've seen him all race after starting in 25th position. Nice move up to the field for the first caution, and this green flag run, Wyatt Brackett third on this outside lane.
You're starting to see that outside line get a little more turbulent as well. It's starting to affect the handling, and guys that were glued to the bumper, you see Miranda had a little correction there in front of him as well. that high groove, kind of building up some rubber, and it'll get slippery up there. You have to be careful. We saw it bring out our first caution where the 85 got loose coming out of 4. If it happens up here, it's going to be a game ender for a lot of these cars.
And running at a super speedway, Bradley, means you're at a mental acuity of 150% at all times, and it can be pretty easy to sort of get off your focus level and make a small mistake like we saw with the 85 and the 45. Look at the pushing where around the 16 car is. That's the 33 of Stephen Harlow. Got shuffled a bit off of the rest of the cars in front of him, got way sideways with the 16 behind him.
That checked up, and accordion, the 16 lost position. You saw the 51 dive down to the inside, trying to get back into the draft. 4 or 5 cars were affected by that move, and whether he got loose or just had to check up for the 48 of Muscarella. Now starting to surge back. The outside line a little disorganized again here as we approach lap 58. The 31 car relaxing. It looks like relaxed, but he's still got the pressure on the outside.
7 laps to go into the end of stage 1. Reedy with the lead, Miranda pushing to second, Colin Forster in third at the cross of the start-finish line. And Bradley, one thing that's sort of magical about stage racing is that it forces you to be a little more aggressive midway through the race. Instead of hanging back until the checkered flag, you can push, and there's probably a necessity, wow, I can't say that word correctly, a necessity to push correctly and to move to the front of the field just to get stage points that could help you moving to the end of the season. Now you ask yourself, when's go time in stage 1? When is the moment where if you're a guy hanging back in the top 10 or 15, when's the moment where you say, I need to move up? And when do you make that move? How do you plan that move accordingly?
Well, we talked about it. What would Mario Miranda do right now? I think lap 60 is the time that you find that friend and you play defense. You don't want to do it too early and let guys know your hand, but you also don't want to wait too long. If you're 6th, 7th position back, you got to make it a little sooner. So I think lap 60 is really when you're going to see guys make moves that they haven't made all race long. Essentially pacing at 200 miles per hour is what they've done here at the beginning side by side. We are yet to see 3 wide moves up the middle. They've been keeping that lane open. And I think here as we cross the line for that moment of 6 laps to go, that's the time to start.
That's a great point. The only times we've encountered 3 wide action is when a driver is just losing the draft. They're getting put into what we call the sucker hole, or I call the heart of the hurricane, with nowhere else to go. But we haven't seen a proper third line in effect quite yet. Maybe could tell you that these drivers aren't quite comfortable yet experimenting with occupying all 3 lanes with pretty wide NASCAR Next Gen race cars. For the moment, it is still 2 abreast. As this 96 car remains in the lead, Mario Miranda will push this outside line and keep them ahead of this 31 car, the Dunkin' Donuts machine of Colin Forster, who remains loyal to the bottom, getting pushed by the 47 of Isaac Mock and then the 71 of Curtis Kelly. About 3 of those cars that were on the top side, about 4 cars deep several laps ago. Now there are 3 cars down low, pushing the inside lane to the lead. We'll be at about 4 laps left until the end of stage 1, still even between the top 2.
Well, if you're that 31 car right now, you've had the 47 on your back bumper for about 30 laps now, and you've led quite a few. Where's the 88, though, in this picture? He knows that he needs to get back up here, and does he have enough fuel to make that surge? If you pick him as a partner, you have to take that into consideration. Does he have enough fuel to take you to the end of this, or is he going to dive down pit road and abandon you?
Well, the good news is that he's in the middle of the draft, so he has that opportunity to save a bit of fuel if he needs it. We're going to be about 3 laps to go until the end of stage 1, and for Stepien, if he even wants to make a move to the front to gain some decent points, is in a position to gain 2 points now in 9th position as he crosses the start-finish line right behind this 71 of Curtis Kelly. But you're sort of trapped if you're down there. You can't really move up top because most of the time no one's really going to help you. They'll just fill the space down low, and you can't move up top in this second lane because there's not enough space. There are drivers filling all the gaps, and there's not enough space to fit that Chevrolet Camaro. So for Stepien, his only hope is to really push the 71 and pray that the inside line gains enough headway so that they can have enough leverage to move around, and this 88 car can push for the win in stage 1. But we're seeing proper next-gen super speedway racing at Daytona develop for the first time at lap 62. Bradley, make that 3 or 4 cars clear of the inside lane back to the stripe.
They've really turned up the heat here. How disorganized we saw that outside a moment ago, and now to see it surge, it's kind of the opposite. That inside was 4 or 5 deep. Now it's the outside 4 or 5 deep. Muscarella, the 30 of Wyatt Brackett. They could make a move. There's the 31 making a little surge back into 1 and 2, but down the backstretch, you're going to see it accordion back. Will they make their move? Lap 63 as we approach close to the white flag here for stage number 1. Who's it going to be?
And they're approaching a pair of lap traffic cars. The 85 of Justin Hendry, the first. The 10 of Alex Huffman, the second. So the 2 Mustangs are running on the very inside. There you see them, the tiny dots at the front of your screen. This first pack is approaching them rapidly. Cross of the line, lap 64, near to the end of stage 1.
And the surge back to the inside. The 31 car now, Colin Forrester with the 47 of Isaac Mock to get the surge back and take the lead briefly into 1. The 96 doesn't have the 99 of Miranda, not glued to that bumper at all. Maybe sizing up the run here for the backstretch. He gives a hard push in the 96 car, starting to feel the turbulence.
He was backing up and making the push, using his entire Toyota Camry. That 99 car was repping the set coming out of turn 2, ready to give the shove to this 96 car. It's not going to help him clear. Going into 3 and 4 to the final laps of stage number 1. Hard pushing to the trioval. Miranda's going to get the 96 to the front. Austin Reedy will win stage 1 at Daytona.
That stage 1 win, oh so important for the points, but how about that? Mario Miranda, Colin Forrester, and the top 3, they locked it down for the majority of that first stage. You didn't really see it change too much after lap 30.
And make that all 4 of the Fast Banana cars gaining significant points at the end of stage 1. A full team effort that gives Austin Reedy in the 96 his first stage win of the season. So starting off in the right way, former Daytona winner here in season 5, looking to do it all over again. Pretty big move by Reedy. And you'd expect, Bradley, that for so many laps, when you're running that outside lane and it's not gaining a lot of traction, your first thought is, I'm going to ditch it. I'm going to go to the inside lane and gain all my momentum there. But this 96 car, much like his teammates in the 31 for a moment and the 71 of Curtis Kelly, they all remained loyal to that outside. It worked wonders for them, giving them the position they needed as they pick up the pace car.
Well, believe in the process. If you saw the outside line surge a few different times during this run, or you got confident and comfortable with somebody pushing, it's sometimes a little difficult to make that call. And when you have Mario Miranda on the back bumper, you know you're in good hands with speed. He's in it for points as well, so he's going to make sure he stays there, and he won't ditch you if it's absolutely not a necessity. And as we approach stage 2, now he knows that 99 car is the guy you want on the back bumper for that second stage.
Well, you said necessity better than I could. I was all over myself on that one. But you're right. Big time moves for trusting the process for Fast Banana Racing. It works in their favor, and Austin Reedy is going to lead them out of 4, and this should take them to pit road. So it looks like nobody was really at jeopardy of running out of fuel. We thought it was going to be really close to the window, but fortunately for everybody, I guess this run to lap 65 was more than enough to get them to the checkered flag in the first stage. Now everyone's on pit road, and this 96 car has the job of leading everyone in to the feeding zoo. There goes the 96 into his pit stall. Second batch of service for the field upcoming.
Looks like everybody hits their stall cleanly, and that's the mistakes that we saw there during that first caution. Some drivers missed it, lost some positions, and right there, the 3, I believe, of Harlow, he slid through it. He's still trying to find it to get service on that number 3 Chevrolet Camaro, and he's going to lose a ton of spots.
And to the lead off of pit road, Tulsa, Oklahoma's Mario Miranda, right behind the stage winner almost all race long. And now this 99 car will lead him back to action when we kick off stage 2 here from Daytona. We'll take a short break, but we'll be right back with more coverage of the opening race of Season 7 for the Sunoco Cup Series live on VSPEED.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller,
Yeah,
needed F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
68 laps down from the mecca of racing here at Daytona Beach. Welcome back to coverage of the Season 7 opener for the Sunoco Cup Series live on VSPEED. Kenneth Bueno and our producer/color commentator Bradley Cooper along with you for the ride. First round of stops under yellow for the stage break. Mario Miranda was able to beat Austin Reedy off of the lane. The 96 car was the winner of stage number 1. If you're just tuning in to us now, we are doubled up for the green flag, a lap number 69. What is a long 200 lapper here from Daytona Beach, Florida. Bradley, your quick thoughts before we get the green on the great racing we saw in stage 1.
Well, an hour and a half into this thing, we went through practice, we went through qualifying, some drivers electing to stay back. I think the intensity picks up. We saw a little brief moment of that with 3 to go in the stage, but if you've been guys like Loss Appeal that have been back here outside the top 20 most of the night, I'd look to see some guys start to make some gutsy calls because stage number 2, oh so important.
Spent a lot of time at the back of the field, but they ultimately missed out on crucial stage points. Miranda has played the pusher for most of the stage. We'll see what he can do as the leader to the green flag back to turn 1. Push from his teammates, the 31 and the 71. The Fast Banana Toyota Camry is getting to work on the bottom. Meanwhile, Isaac Mock Bradley has found his race team teammate in Miranda. All Toyotas, first 2 rows back to turn 3.
This might have been the plan on that last stage that these guys would get together. It just didn't come to fruition. And after that break, Miranda winning the battle off pit road, but as we come across the line, he's already competing with the guy that he beat the spot out.
And what a job by Isaac Mock with his brand new scheme for 2024. Has done a fantastic job running up front, working well with the competitors around him, and now playing the ultimate job of pushing his teammate to the front. That outside is going to lag quite a bit. This inside has a bit of the headroom, and Austin Reedy will hold on to the lead coming out of turn 2. Now, my biggest curiosity, Bradley, going into the second stage is what's going to happen with each and every group. Are we going to see the same sort of separation we saw near the end of stage 1, where guys like Joe Sanchez and Lawson Peel were sort of on the back end in the second group, or are we going to see this first pack stay intact for a little longer?
Well, I think right now, with them being grouped up, you can't really afford to get too settled in. You've got a lot of guys moving up through this field, like Justin Urban, the number 20. We haven't really mentioned his name at all tonight, and he's up 20 positions. So if there was anything to quantify this data, look at what this car's doing in particular. He's starting to surge towards the top 10 as he just takes it off of turn 2. I think you start to gauge the intensity based off of some of these guys that have been in the back of the pack as you see more cars moving up.
You've got a lot of guys near the back or the mid-pack that are either moving their way up or are just sort of still trying to find their footing. Here's a look on board with the number 20 of Justin Erb. He has moved up to the top 10, now top 15, give or take, around 13th place after starting in 30th to drop the green flag. So Justin Erb has done a great job of moving up to the field, pushing the number 94 in Jesse Winnington. That's the driver for Full Lock Racing, with Justin Erb driving for TOW Racing alongside Chris Progar, Stephen Harlow, and the 43, or now it's going to be the 90 of Sean Kalist in his machine. Still double wide, coming out of turn 2 to the back straightaway. Miranda has the heap of a push from the 47 and the 48 of Muscarella. And there goes the race team duo of the 99 and the 47, moving their way down low. Miranda to the point convincingly out of turn 4.
When you just saw the side drafts start to come into play, those guys stalled that inside line. The 99-47 both came down and pinched through that corner, and that's why they had such a great run out of the exit. So now 3 cars that have been up in the top 3 almost all race long are nose to tail, and the 48 trying to get organized here. He's got the 88 car. Those two have worked together a little bit in the beginning. Let's see what they can do.
And what you saw there with Miranda and Mock moving collectively from the outside to the inside is the culmination of a pretty lengthy process in this super speedway style of racing, Bradley. When you are up at the top and you get a lot of momentum, most of the time it's good enough to clear only you, maybe another car, but even then it can get really close. That is a big move for both the 47 and the 99, because not only are you moving yourself to the shortest way around the racetrack, you're getting there together and you don't lose any connection with your teammate. It's something that is a skill that drivers certainly learn with their other teammates as they gain more experience super speedway racing, and Miranda and Mock executed that flawlessly.
And Miranda has been strong all season, last season, and in these particular races, he's a guy that you want to work with. So if you can find yourself glued to that bumper, as you see the inside fall a little bit here, but to have that coordination and be comfortable with your partner, as we see the 16 drop to the inside, this kind of racing, you have to communicate at all times. You're not just thinking about pit stops or car to your outside. You're thinking about, hey, where's my partner going to go? If I dump him, or if I go down here, is he going to follow?
And now we've got a new leader down low. How about the Season 1 champion of this series, Garrett Brown, in the 16 car, who was moved up from 22nd, that very bright Red Bull Ford Mustang. I mean, we've seen him in the middle of the pack, but he's been either inside or outside, just hanging around. Now Garrett Brown has a chance to take the lead away. Still a bit of work to do and cut out for him as the 48, the 88, and now the 33 of Stephen Harlow make big-time moves at the top. Garrett Brown can take command here at Daytona.
Here's another name that's moved his way into the top 10. We talked about Erb earlier. Now we've got Austin Shoemaker in the 14. He's up to 8th spot, 19 positions gain for that machine, the Mobile 114. And that's another beautiful paint there. It's got some gold and nice accents all the way through. I like it.
Beautiful paint scheme, much like a lot of the other cars in this field. Austin Shoemaker, the Season 4 winner here at the World Center of Racing, when we ran only 110 laps, and he led 29 of those on his way to the checkered flag. So this Mobile 1 Ford Mustang, of course, has the experience of outlasting the competition and getting to the end in clutch fashion. This 14 car, who started 27th, now inside the top 10, and with a fellow Ford Mustang up ahead, that's the 19 of Brad Fulham. Still part of that Prestige Worldwide Racing camp. Austin Shoemaker is, along with Chris Shoemaker, Dustin Reeves, and Garrett Brown. That's one of the teams, Bradley, that is mostly unchanged from a season ago, although they have just adapted to the brand new Dark Horse Ford Mustangs. And Garrett Brown, part of Prestige Worldwide Racing, like we said, is going to have a first bit of lead lap action at the front.
Well, you started out making me think there was some stability, but then the car change, it kind of threw it back in. They're in the same boat as everybody else with the changes in the postseason and offseason.
So we'll keep an eye on Prestige Worldwide Racing. Again, a lot of teams in representation, either new ones or old-fashioned teams that have been around for a while with new manufacturers and a bunch of changes. Look at Muscarella, who got super sideways. I'm not sure whether that was an attempt to side draft on Miranda and from Garrett Brown, but it almost looked like he completely lost control of the car and escapes calamity, crosses the line, lap 78.
That was a touch and go moment there for the 48 car. Thankfully, the 88 wasn't on the back bumper as that happened. But you can see this field very tight compared to what it was earlier. You can go back to about 33rd position. These guys branch off. There's Justin Henry, who was involved in the only caution of the night. That's the only pack of cars that have really split off from the rest of this field, and they're 5-6 cars deep back here with Dustin Reeves. That's a shame, though, because, again, they're in the boat that you saw with Peel and those guys earlier in the first stage. They're not going to be able to get back up here in time.
And 2 drivers in that 5-car pack are a lap down or more. That's Casey Knighton in the 28. You saw that black and blue, number 45 of James Kunkel, who was involved in the first caution of the evening earlier on in stage number 1. You're right, that second pack of cars, they really don't have much in the way of positivity for them in terms of getting to the front. They have a large gap to overcome if they even want a shot at getting back to the main pack that does spread up until 32nd place. That is Brandon Banks, who at this moment is potentially losing a bit of the draft. And he'll gain back here with Chris Progar in the 7. And again, we talked about the Drinking Bros Racing Chevrolets. Again, lost out on potentially crucial points in stage 1, making more of an effort here to hang with this first pack in stage number 2. Do you think there were any sort of adjustments they told themselves or to each other after the first stage and probably said, hey, let's start to break the seal a little bit, and let's move up a little more here at lap 80?
Yeah, I'm sure that went across the Discord channels. Quite a few drivers had the same discussion. There wasn't just that team, but collectively there was about 12 cars that kind of put them out of the spot. They couldn't do anything about it. And once you're in that scenario and you know that's the case, you're just relying on a caution to group you back up and maybe save the day. But right now, they've been pretty stable up at the front, and you're starting to see the confidence build. These guys in the back, they're not hanging out. They're not just on a Sunday drive now.
Well, all Lawson Peel wants, I'd imagine, from the 12's perspective, is not to have the engine go poof early in the race. Remember at Atlanta, opening race of season 6, he had a pretty good run brewing up until engine overheated, and he was gone super early. It was a big shock to everyone, to us in the broadcast booth, to those watching. So for Lawson, I mean, he's probably accomplished much better than he did last season in the opener. He's got 81 laps green, car on the wall right in front of him. That's going to shake up everything. Yeah, that's the 43 car on the wall.
They're sideways down the backstretch, and that's Peel. And the commentator's curse gets him.
Oh no, the 12 of Lawson Peel tagged late as Alex Huffman and Dakota Curtis struck the outside wall exiting turn 2, and the 12 car gets collected as the 43 travels back down the racetrack. Gonna have to send a personal apology to Peel after this one.
Yeah, that's how it always goes. We start to talk about it, and then it happens. We'll back this up a little bit more here, but you could see the 43 up stuck on the outside wall there, and then Peel, I thought they were going to get clear of it, but the 43 pulled it off the wall, and it's tough not to do that because you're fighting the wheel. It's trying to pull you and hold you against the wall, and then by the time it lets go, you've got 10 degrees to the left, and it just shoots down the track.
We'll take another look at it, but he does indeed pivot that car to the left right as the 12 car comes into frame. So we'll see it again. This is how they got into the wall in the first place. So Dakota Curtis just running calmly on the outside lane. I think he just drifted a little too high, and it was the same story for Alex Huffman. Oh, poor Lawson Peel, really nowhere he could go, just gets tagged without any control of his own situation. The 43 car gets into him. Here's a third look on board with the Mississippi driver.
And again, you can see the check up, the 55. I thought, again, they were going to get clear of this, but then that little move there with the 43, and, you know, like I said, you're stuck on the outside wall trying to pull it off, and you see all these cars going by you. You don't want to lose the draft. Unfortunately, that collects the 12 of Peel, and he's got some right front damage here. He'll most likely bring it down pit road.
Yeah, with no fast repairs in this Sunoco Cup Series, any damage you pick up on track, you have to spend the time repairing on pit road. So for Peel, we'd imagine that the time is ultimately going to get extended, probably exponentially, as he enters pit road to get the damage repair and, of course, to get some service on his race car. Speak of service, everyone else is in here at lap number 83, roughly around, say, 17 laps after the conclusion of stage number 1 at lap 65. A lot of fuel-only calls, including for the 99 of Miranda. He will lead them out of pit road. Garrett Brown second, Isaac Mock third, Zach Wilson and Alex Muscarella will roll out the rest of the top 5. But this looks sort of, Bradley, like a mirror image of stage 1, don't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to group back up, and you're going to see some guys that maybe get bailed out, like the 5 cars that were outside of the top 30. It's mirroring the exact intensity, and for these guys to ride around here in the second stage, I don't think we've seen the end of the action, but the intensity has picked up.
You're right, and this might just put a mirror image strategy on the board, too, for the second stage, because remember in stage 1, with that incident between Hendry and Kunkel, it brought out the yellow. Everyone came in to top off on fuel, like they did just now, and then they ran the rest of the stage under green for roughly about 40 laps. Here, we're going to have a couple of more laps under yellow. We'll probably go green at around lap 85, and maybe that gives you 45 to 40 in that range, that window amount of laps left until the end of the second stage. It might push the window a little farther, so maybe more of a saving effort this time by. But still, mirror image in strategy. You're still having to go long. That's, of course, if this stage goes the rest of the way green, and I don't want to jinx that either.
Well, in this scenario as well, we didn't take that into consideration. Last stage, they closed pit road with, I believe, 2 laps to go to the stage. So if you're in a situation where you can't make it on fuel, you have to decide that well before the stage break. I'm going to come down at this lap, and hopefully something happens that gets me back into the hunt.
So they're going to cross the start-finish line, and we'll hopefully get the 1 to green signal from the iRacing official pace car. We do, so lights are off. We'll double them up and get back to racing at exactly lap 85 of the 200 schedule. Now, 2 drivers that have broken their way, make that 3 that have entered the top 10 that did not accrue stage points for the first time around. It's Jonathan Cofield, the rookie driver, Eddie Smith in the 87, who we haven't poked fun at today, but Eddie Smith ran a pretty good race inside the top 10. There he is in that VSPEED Ford Mustang. The only other driver that did not pick up any points in stage number 1, now for stage number 2, is going to be Garrett Brown in the number 16. So make that several cars, Bradley, that have a chance at moving forward in stage number 2, getting some points that they missed out on after lap 65.
Garrett Brown's in the best seat in the house right now. He gets to restart on the outside. He has clean air. He has the 51 of Zach Wilson on his back bumper. And great opportunities presenting themselves here in the second stage of the race. We still have a long way to go, and based off of what I've seen with the Fast Banana guys, a little organization could start again. We could see that top 5 change really quickly.
It's the magic of super speedway racing. You never can have a sure top 5 until the checkered flag is displayed, because every single lap it's going to shift and wobble and completely alter as Mario Miranda is going to be out of line. This is an attempt, Bradley, to save some fuel. Talk about that fuel window. We'll get to the end of lap 130, which will be the closing mark of stage number 2. You're going to have to go longer here on your tank of gas. So Miranda's making sure the fuel tank is level before we go green. He can save some extra drops that could help him go a little longer or go to the end of the second stage. This is going to be a big strategy race if we do not have a yellow until lap 130. It's going to be Miranda up front, Garrett Brown on the outside, back to the restart zone and to the green.
Already a big surge there on the inside. They take it in. The 16 left completely out to dry here, but the 51 gets shoved out. He's going to find the hole. And unfortunately, Garrett Brown, who we talked about with the first stage, no points, he's falling out of this top 10 slowly.
Well, it was surprisingly enough that everybody basically inside that top 6 or so, they completely abandoned that top lane. And even then, so Eddie Smith, who was the leader on the top side, didn't even go with the 16. He went down low instead. And now this moves an outside push from the Chevrolets up top. Alex Muscarella and Steven Stepien, 2 of the teammates from Dropping the Hammer, working together.
And now you got Cofield in the mix. He picked up 2 or 3 spots just in 1 lap on this restart. A lot of guys just not willing to work together created this situation. And Jonathan Cofield said, okay, I'll take advantage of it.
Cofield, the rookie driver in the 58, 3rd car up top. He is part of Big Fish Motorsports for 2024's edition of the Sunoco Cup Series, a team that has been around for a little while, but with a brand new cast with Cofield and with Robert Hanrana, who is not here tonight at Daytona, but a great run so far by Cofield, and that's the savior for Garrett Brown. And while he may not be the leader of that secondary lane, he's going to stay in the draft, and he's not going to be left to dry. That was really surprising, Bradley. Fresh off the restart, no one wanted to be up top.
Yeah, they all dove to the inside from about 5th place on back, and that's kind of strange that nobody even got to the bumper of the 16 car. Not a great feeling, but you know who your friends are now. If you're Garrett Brown, you're going to find the guys that are willing to work this outside. They waited to let that develop. You see some gaps starting to form on that inside line, so here comes, I would say, Muscarella here in a couple laps will be back up to that point.
And what Garrett Brown is singing in his head is that song by Justin Timberlake that goes, "What goes around comes around." He saw all the drivers that abandoned him on the top, and he said, I'll keep that in check. Drivers usually have the memory of elephants. They can remember little details, little points throughout a race, and that could help or harm them by the time they get to lap 200. So Garrett Brown surely will keep that intact, and maybe won't have enough faith in the drivers up top, but he'll stay where he is. So far around 4th or 5th on that secondary lane, make that 4th behind Jonathan Cofield. And Muscarella is aiming to make a strike at Mario Miranda, although not for any fruitful activity at the moment. Miranda's going to hold on to the lead with his teammate behind him in Mock.
Well, back to your point about how drivers can remember everything. We can sit here as the commentators or drivers and remember and recite every single detail of a 200, 500-mile race, a 200-lap race, and if my wife asked me where I put my keys, I have no idea.
You know what? It's the little details sometimes that we miss, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes. As there's Muscarella, who has performed really, really strongly here at tonight's race from Daytona. He has spent basically the entirety of the 89 laps of this event up inside either the top 5 or the top 10. But you look further back, and you're seeing a lot of new names come in. Not only did we talk about Stephen Harlow, who really jumped up at the end of stage number 1 to get a 9th place finish at lap 65. Justin Erb, you've got Kip Easley back in the mix in the 8 car, and then move a couple of positions back. And you have a former Super Speedway winner, Bradley, Aaron Adcock in the 17.
He's up 22 spots. He's got 3 guys in front of him that are up 22 spots, so he's in good company there. You have the 87 of Eddie Smith and Ray Rogers. They're on the move here into this top 10. They're working their way, chipping away one at a time. But they're going to have to be careful because you can see how turbulent it's getting on lap 90, almost halfway through this race.
And the trio that you just mentioned right there, Bradley, with Ray Rogers, Aaron Adcock, and Eddie Smith, those 3, along with Chuck Feltz, are part of the new Pullman Motorsports Ford Mustang group for 2024. So they all band together with a brand new squad. And like we talked about with Fast Banana, looks like other teams are starting to get the memo. They're coming up together. And whether they're not really working together exactly and directly, they are still around each other enough to make an impact on everybody else in this field. And you can see the VSPEED Ford Mustang of Eddie Smith running in 14. There's that 17 of Adcock up top, and he already found his teammate, Ray Rogers, who's moved up to 11th. So good news for the Ford Mustangs at a Pullman Motorsports.
Well, I saw it in chat. We need a V-Speed car in there. Well, look, we're riding on board right now with Eddie Smith, VSRN, the other producer here at V-Speed. He does a phenomenal job. Go check him out as well. Having a great race, and we haven't had the opportunity to poke fun at him. He hasn't given us that chance. He's done a really great job here tonight, sitting in 14th right now.
Really clean Ford Mustang and hasn't gotten into a lot of trouble, so he's been, avoidant of all of our jokes and probably some messing around with him. But Eddie Smith, phenomenal producer at V-Speed and at Podium Esports. First time we really get to call him as a driver on track for the Sunoco Cup Series, so it's going to be a lot of fun seeing him switch over the producer role into the driver role. We'll stay green for now, lap 92 of 200. Miranda remains at the head of the field with Isaac Mock to push. Alex Muscarella, if you've missed it, he's been really the main man up top in this 2017 Jimmy Johnson number 48 paint scheme, pushed by the 2014 Dale Jr. paint scheme of Steven Stempien. They're going to get a big run out of turn 2 and could potentially make a move entering turn 3. But so far, it seems to be all good for them. maybe all bad for the 12 of Lawson Peel, defending champ.
Wow.
That got really close to Shoemaker as he merged back up.
Yeah, there wasn't much, maybe a piece of paper you could fit between the fenders of those cars. I thought he was going to make contact. Thankfully, he did not. But that damage may be interfering a little bit with how that car is handling. You can see he's got the wheel kind of pushed to the right. Looks like maybe some suspension damage for the 12 of Peel. Not how he wanted this race to go. And again, apologies to the 12 because that commentator's curse, I think that was a big factor in it.
Yeah, we talked about him directly before that incident happened, and there is still a lot of damage on his Chevrolet Camaro. And a bit of suspension damage, like you mentioned. A bit of that toe link on the right front probably got bent out of shape as he hit that outside wall. It was a pretty awkward angle, but it's enough to do you that damage. It's a perfect angle for that new next-gen wheel that's been around for a couple years to fully get out of shape. And he's going to get picked up by another pack. He has fallen 3 laps down to the leaders in 37. Also, something of note, our first DNF of the night comes now, lap 94. Casey Neiden in the 28 has called it a night. He was 7 laps down when he exited the race. He's going to be 7 laps down and counting. And while James Kunkel is still putting laps around here at Daytona, that's going to make Casey Neiden our first DNF, and it's going to be 39th and dead last on the racetrack in the middle of stage 2.
Now a perfect opportunity. I've been wanting to ride on board with this guy all night long, so here it is, the 33 of Stephen Harlow. And let's get a camera on this guy because this is impressive. I envy it. That is a heck of a mustache there. I'm sure he's feeling the air on this inside line right now with that.
And he's got a lot of space to Wyatt Brackett, a lot of momentum too. I think one car just backed up behind him for a bit. Justin Urban Company on the inside, not really wanting to push all too hard. But yeah, you were talking about that, Bradley. Just a little jealous of the mustache.
Yeah.
Stephen Harlow's got rookie driver for 2024, by the way.
In relation to the other Harlow in this field, correct?
I believe so, yeah. So both the 3 and the 33, both of them repping the Harlow brand. And funny enough, they're both on different teams. Ross is going to be part of that drop in the Hama squad, and then TOW Racing picked up Stephen Harlow. So pretty funny to see both of the Harlows going to be on opposite teams, driving against each other on the racetrack, and Stephen's got some work to do. Ross has a Sunoco Cup Series championship over him. He's been around for a little longer in this series, so maybe a bit of friendly family rivalry between the two as there's a look on board with Ross Harlow, who's somewhat fallen back through the top 15, but settling in nicely behind the 17 of Aaron Adcock.
Well, you can compare that to maybe like a Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch sequence where those guys were on different teams for a long, long time, and then the partnership later on down the road. I'm sure it's coming. I mean, when you got family in any kind of motorsports, you kind of have that soft place where you're going to always try to support them regardless if they're teammates or not.
And you're always going to have a soft spot for them, and you're always going to support them too on the racetrack. You know, if you find yourself alongside each other, if you have that opportunity to help another part of your family, I mean, why not? I mean, you know each other outside of the racetrack enough, lived with each other for a long time. Always could be the difference between helping other drivers win and maybe preventing everyone else from getting to the checkered flag. There's a look on board with Miranda. If you're looking on that rear view camera, you're seeing a new sponsor for the driver of the 99. The Oklahoma native announced recently that he has Victory Fuel on his race cars for 2024, whether that be here in the Sunoco Cup Series or beyond. They're going to be sponsoring a night and day fully primary race car. They're going to be sponsoring 10 races this season for the Oklahoma native, who has been able to do it on and off the track. A legend car racer, has done a lot of stuff in real life for racing, and obviously on the sim has become a Monday Night Racing winner on Podium Esports, and has done a lot of great stuff and tied for all-time wins in this series with Lawson Peel. So Miranda with his brand new sponsor and leading up in the front with it.
It's good to see guys that can do it on and off the track when you're trying to get people to present or sponsor, and you got to have that sociability. I know from a producer standpoint that can't always be an easy task, so you got to shake the hand and kiss the baby, that kind of thing. Outside of the racetrack, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and congratulations to him to work out a deal with those guys, and I'm interested to see what that paint scheme is going to look like.
Well, if you look on his Twitter, then you'll see exactly what the paint schemes look like. I'm not gonna spoil it for the audience, but I am gonna say that they do look good. They do have some pretty bold colors that you'll pretty much see easily whenever it takes to the sim and on the racetrack. But for now, Twisted Tech on the 99 of Miranda, still with his race team. Teammate in Isaac Mock, that second place. Zach Wilson has moved up to a race high third. Wyatt Brackett, the teammate for race team in the number 30, is going to be back in fourth place, or rather for Fast Banana Racing. Stephen Harlow in the 33 going to be inside the top 5. Then Justin Erb, Alex Muscarella, Kip Easley, Steven Stempian, and the rookie Jonathan Cofield rounding out your current top 10. I believe here, Bradley, that outside sort of dissipated quite a bit. Lack of momentum, and this is again surprising to see that the top side, yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how the top side has sort of fallen off. But at super speedway races with these next-gen cars, the top is usually where you want to be. They can clear that inside lane by many car lengths, and many cars clear in fact. So we're sort of seeing a switch over to the very bottom. That top side not as organized and sort of all over the place, haven't been able to get as much speed.
We saw it there just before the first stage, and it was very disorganized with 15-20 to go, and then suddenly you saw 4 teammates get together, and it surged to the front. So I'm just kind of waiting on that right now. You see a little surge back and forth, but it hasn't really organized yet, and I don't think it will until we approach that 130 mark.
So make this 29 cars in this first pack, leading back to Austin Shoemaker in the 14. That is for lead lap competition. There are also some lap cars in the mix as well, most notably Chris Shoemaker, who's lodged back in 36, is a lap down. Look back to 30th place, and you'll find Bradley once again a secondary group that has lost the draft. There they are at the exit of the Trial Bowl entering turn 1, and for the second stage in a row, Bradley, 2 of those drivers are Drinking Bros Racing Chevrolets, Joe Sanchez and Brandon Banks.
And the other driver that's missing from this grouping is Lawson Peel, but he's heavy damage, so he's actually not able to keep pace with these cars. We're talking about 19 seconds from Austin Shoemaker in 29th to Joe Sanchez in 30th. That gap continuing to grow because these guys really, they're not pushing the issue. I think they're just content now with running in this position, finish out the stage, save a little fuel, save your stuff. Nothing to panic about yet, but if these guys can't keep pace on that final stage and we go green, it's all over.
And for them, it's going to pose a similar question we brought up at the end of stage number 1. If you're Joe Sanchez, you're wasting the most fuel now that you're not with this first pack. You can't draft off of anybody in front of you. With this little longer green flag run leading up to lap 130, you have to save more. Are you going to lose more time? Are you even going to make enough of a run to the end of stage 1, or stage 2 rather, without running out of fuel and running on fumes? It's a question that is of most importance for those guys and for everybody here at the front as well, if they can even make it and if they have saved enough fuel under yellow. We're watching chat, by the way, the VSPEED YouTube channel. Yeah. We are not ignoring you. You guys are going all intense about Chuck Feltz. Well,
here you go.
Here's exactly it. Running 28th.
Riding on board here with Charles Feltz. Where is he? He's down the backstretch right now, kind of playing that soft game where he's worried that maybe these guys get caught up in something, so you can't blame him if you're sitting back here. There's no reason to really push the issue. Give yourself a little leeway, and if something happens, have that braking room. You don't want to be a passenger landing a 747 here at Daytona. It doesn't work out.
Well, I think with those arms, he can easily land a 747. Chuck
yeah,
Feltz still in 28th and running nicely in this single line pack of cars. Just, again, the strategy of hanging back and hoping that things go wrong up in front, or really anything that can give him a bit of headway. In Season 6, his best finish was 11th, and that came at a super speedway. That was the opening race of the campaign at Atlanta Motor Speedway at Daytona. Wasn't the best for luck at 25th place, but Charles Feltz has been around for many seasons in the Sunoco Cup Series, and always great, Bradley, to see the OGs return to racing here in the sim.
Well, it's just great that I have names that I'm familiar with. You know, here on VSPEED, we've been broadcasting a variety of different leagues, and then to see guys like Cofield and Feltz come in here and have an opportunity, as with VSPEED, we had this great opportunity to race and broadcast this league that's well established. The excitement builds for me personally to see those guys, and I'm happy. Eddie Smith, another name that's included in that list. It's kind of surreal. I'm still coming off of that high, Kenneth.
It's a lot of fun for sure, and I know for me it's been a while since I've covered any sort of Sunoco Cup Series action, but to get to know these guys in late night Discord calls after the races, or just getting to know them through other leagues or any other off the track scenario in the sim, it's so fun to get to know the personalities of this series. And as skillful as they are on track, they are great people off the track as well. They have been around, at least most of them, for a really long time. A lot of them have known each other since the very beginning days, sometimes of iRacing, or even before then, running on NR 2003. And we were talking about it earlier with the new Poman Motorsports team with Aaron Adcock, Ray Rogers, and Eddie Smith. Well, Chuck Phelps is part of that group in the number 75, so part of a brand new group that'll look to take the field by storm here in 2024. So there's a look on board with Adcock, who won the Talladega race last season. Was super excited about that one. Him and his teammate at the time, Logan Sturgeon, with the affiliate Big Fish Motorsports, both of them made that instrumental symphony happen together at that super speedway. And Adcock was running at one point inside the top 15, currently runs just outside of it in 16th, but has decided, Bradley, to go with the approach of running single file and letting the field up front tell the rest of the story for stage 2.
And I'm seeing here with Stympian and Muscarella on the outside, they still have yet to kind of impress me with how organized they can get. There's a car to the outside for a brief moment. That's the 30 of Wyatt Brackett. Not sure if he was wanting to go up there and go with these guys, but now the 88 drops down, so Muscarella doesn't have the help from the 88. The 23 now is into the picture. That's Ray Rogers. And a little turbulence. They're going to have to get reorganized again.
A race high top 10 now for Ray Rogers, the Florida driver. He's going to move up as the leader of this outside lane. We're seeing a slow push to the bottom, so migration to the double yellow line. Could this be in an effort to save a bit of fuel now that we're about 22 laps out from the end of the second stage?
It could be an effort to get to pit road. Some of these drivers might be calling it out here soon. The strategy's coming into play. We're going to see all kinds of different drivers coming together and try to partner up. You're going to see the 99 of Mario Miranda lead them down the backstretch with the 47 car. That's been the most consistent part of this entire run. The 99 and the 47 have led a variety of different laps, but this time around in stage 2, they've been dominant.
No one has been able to stop the race team duo of that 99 and 47, but there may be a change of the script up top because Ray Rogers is a brand new leader on the outside lane, and look who's supporting him behind. That's the 31 of Colin Forrester, the 71 behind them of Curtis Kelly, the two Fast Banana Toyota Camrys, Bradley. If you want anybody to be loyal to you in this second group and push you nicely, it's going to be the 31 and the 71. They have done wonders for that in stage 1 to get their teammates up to the top 5, and they're helping Rogers break into the top 5 now to 4th. Now side by side with 3rd, entering turn 3.
You see Cofield and a couple others, the 17 of Adcock, they jump up to that outside. They believe in the momentum now that the Fast Banana guys are in charge of it. You see the 45 machine there in the mix, and that's actually a damaged machine, but here we come down pit road, the 99, he's called it.
The two drivers at the front going to be the only ones for now. Entering pit road under green, Miranda and Isaac Mock call this a full run. So they will top off here with about 20 laps to go until the end of stage 2. Miranda went over the comms and told them pitting in 99. We have no other calls from anyone else, so we don't know how long these other drivers are going to go. It is fully
16.
dissipated most of this first pack, and Colin Forrester moves to the lead.
I saw the 16 get into the wall a little bit there on the exit of 2, and now we have a 4-car breakaway. So that outside line just launches like a rocket here. Going back to the moon for the 31 car.
And now you ask the question, what does everybody else in this first pack do? Do they follow in the footsteps of Miranda and Mock, or do they wait a little longer? It's going to be the latter option this time through. It is killed completely this top lane here at Daytona. There's a look from Garrett Brown. We talked about him hitting the outside wall for a bit. He's going to get picked up by Aaron Adcock, now moving down low in front of that 20 of Justin Erb. Shut the door on that end. And the top 4 breaking away. Mind you, that's 3 cars that are on the lead lap. All of them Fast Banana Toyota Camrys. James Kunkel, a lapped car in the middle of all this. That's the 45 in 3rd.
So not really showing any hints here for the top 5 that they're coming to pit road as they ride that outside. You see the 23 who had a shot at the lead there a moment ago. He got shuffled out. He falls back to 7th position. Wyatt Brackett in the 30 picks up on the back bumper of him. The 88 and the 48 who have tried this outside line several times. It just hasn't panned out for them.
Their bets haven't really paid tenfold. Stephen Harlow and Steven Stempian, both of them are going to work together. They will pick up Aaron Adcock to make it a tertiary car and make it a quartet now with Eddie Smith and that number 97 or 87 rather Ford Mustang. This is going to get really close, especially with the fact that Miranda and Mock came down pit road. You got to ask that question, Bradley. Did they waste so much? I mean, being at the front, Miranda, of course, didn't have any drafting help. He was basically forced to. Isaac Mock was there to give him support, but does that even persuade anyone else to come in, or do you believe they have enough to make it at least close or to the end of stage number 2?
In the long span of things, you're going to save about 5 laps, roughly, give or take, depending on how aggressive you've been in the pack and how many moves you've made, and if you were running that bottom to the entirety. And now the 31 is going to see that fuel counter start to tick down a little faster compared to what it was at the beginning of this run. Right now, everyone dives to the inside. They're all single filed out. That really leads me to believe that some of these guys are going to call it.
So far, no signals from anyone at the front that they are coming down pit road, whether through the iRacing chat or through the voice channels either. Colin Forrester is going to hold on to the lead with Curtis Kelly in tow. And as we wrap out of turn 4, everyone else has single filed out. So Stempian and Harlow in the number 33, both of them have ditched any hope of getting that outside lane to move forward in that locomotive train. And there is Miranda and Isaac Mock, both of them running 34th and 35th. A gutsy call that may not pay off, Bradley, in the last 15 or so laps in stage 2.
Well, and you don't have to go very far back to find this lead pack. The 31 has a freight train behind them, and they've surged well over 195 plus into 3. They're on the move now. I'd say at least a second a lap here as they come around out of 4.
And there's Forrester on board with that number 31. He will waste the most fuel. And they are indeed catching up to those 2 Toyota Camrys, and that will be a big-time detriment for the 2 race team duo teammates in the 99 and the 47, because if both of them get lapped, Bradley, that means only one of them is going to get the lucky dog when we get that stage 2 caution if anyone else doesn't get put a lap down or more. So it will eventually eliminate one race team driver and put them a lap down. They're going to be trapped there until they get another yellow, which has been really hard to come by over this race at Daytona. And whether it's going to be the 47 or the 99 winning that fight, it's going to be up to them.
Yeah, we've only had 2 natural cautions and then the stage break that ripped these guys back up. That looks like the 16 car. Nope, he's going to stay out. It looked like he was diving down for a moment there. Maybe he got pushed out of line, and that creates kind of a mid-pack turbulence. 6-car breakaway here as they reorganize. Wyatt Brackett pulling up with the 23.
Well, it's safe to say, Bradley, this first pack has fully thinned out. It might be an accordion effect to get everyone back together at the end of stage 2, but for now, it is all single file. A look on board with the number 30 of Wyatt Brackett. Got a bunch of the stage points in stage 1 after lap 65. And in position to put himself near the same ending position of stage 1 where he finished 5th, now in 6th position, so could gain a lot of great points after this. And Steven Stempian going to be on the outside. There comes the run to pit road. Forrester and the others pivoting to the left and into pit road.
A little turbulence there. I think the 96 is okay, but he did brush that grass. Hopefully no penalty. I think he had to go a little bit further off there to get one. But the 31 car is going to burn that fuel down and now has the teammates to come in. It looks like a car missed. That was the 71, missed his stop. So Curtis Kelly going to lose a little bit of time here. Topping off with fuel, though. It looks like he's going to be okay. He'll still have some partners.
So there's everyone else coming out from pit road, all of them making this stop. And the top 20, most of them are going to stay out an extra lap, led by Steven Stempian in the 88 machine. They have all crunched up together, mostly single file, and this call is going to come to them out of turn 4, but really none of them are going to move underneath that double yellow line and make an attempted run at green flag pit stops. So we're going to enter the final 13 laps of stage 2, and the question comes up, Bradley Cooper, do they have enough to make it?
Based off of how early some of those other drivers just pitted that were deep in the field, I know teammates kind of influenced some of those stops, but I think these guys are in the yellow with how far they can make it now. And it's probably not comforting to know that if they close pit road, like I said earlier, with the two to go on the stage, you got to be absolutely sure that you can make it. Do you want to gamble here on stage number 2? Because if you run out of fuel, it's a long way around this 2.5 mile oval under speed.
And you're going to most likely fall a lap down or more, which is really going to make your trek to the front much harder because you don't have another stage break to give you a blessing in disguise. You're going to run it green if you do all the way until lap 200 here at Daytona. So it is going to be a big time decision for these guys up front. That's, of course, based on whether they can even make it to the end of stage 2 or if they're confident enough that they have enough in the tank. They are approaching a 2-car duo in front. They just passed Garrett Brown. That was Mock and Miranda, who got around the 16, so that could delay their trip to being a lap down or more if this continues under green. They just got past the 16. Garrett Brown has really nowhere to go. He has lost a draft. There's going to be another car up there in the form of Justin Hendry, so Mock and Miranda will virtually eliminate their chances of being put a lap down here with 10 laps to go in the stage.
They're praying that other group of cars led by Steven Stempien have to come down pit road. I hope for Mario Miranda's sake it does happen, because he's led 41 laps here tonight and been a very dominant car. With it shaking out the way it did on strategy, it's kind of a shame that you lead all those laps and you get penalized because you're burning so much extra fuel. Now you can see him in save mode behind his teammate here, the Isaac Mock in the 47. They've worked well together, pick up 2 more cars, and that'll help mitigate some of this damage, I think. As Steven Stempien, these guys come out of 4. It looks like cars coming down pit road. So, yeah, good to go here for the 99s.
Well, you just got your answer. Here come the first pack now in a pit road. Almost
20.
Contact between Harlow and Stempien. The 20 of Justin Erb skipping through the grass. Not sure if that's going to be a black flag or a pit road speeding penalty. But for everyone in this last group, they are coming in for fuel with about 9 laps to go. In stage number 2, Ray Rogers is going to assume the lead with his teammates Eddie Smith and Aaron Adcock. Jonathan Cofield back and forth with Richard Swavely 5th, Jesse Whittington 6th, and there's the rest of this group, maybe about 10 or so cars large. And then everyone in the second pack earlier in this race, Bradley, that have gained track position. Joe Sanchez in 12th, Brandon Banks in 13th, Dustin Reeves, Bill Schoonover, and then it goes through all the guys who are emerging now, Kip Easley and company, as there's the rest of the top 10 coming in, starting with the rookie, Jonathan Cofield.
And I believe that's the 32, Richard Swavely, who hits his stall first, and he's got a long way down pit road, but hits it perfectly, so he shouldn't lose any positions. But look how long this pit road is, and you have to drive it under that speed. Risk getting a penalty, that would pretty much end it for you on the stage break. Back up here to the front, though, we still have 4 cars that have yet to hit the pit road. 39 laps on this stint. They've stretched it the furthest compared to everyone else. This pretty much answers all the questions, though. Nobody's going to make it here to the end of the stage. Unfortunately, where does this put these guys that were up here in the top 4 as they come down?
Well, so far it's going to leave Colin Forster most likely as the net race leader with Wyatt Brackett behind him. There are the rest of the drivers that stayed out up until this long to come in. Aaron Adcock almost missed his stall completely. Had to cut right in front of his teammate Eddie Smith and did have to back up, so lost time for Aaron Adcock on the way out. Eddie Smith and Ray Rogers will leave him there. And there's the 17 with a little later of an exit. Austin Shoemaker, Brad Fulham are going to be the next drivers that are scheduled to pit with about 7 laps to go at the end of stage number 2. Boy, this is fully opened up strategy-wise, Bradley. We saw these drivers go right at the edge of the window, 40 laps at the end of stage 1 to lap 65. You put in the caution at around lap 80 or 82, and you're giving these guys a boatload of obstacles to get through strategy-wise. This is all going to be, by the way, for crucial stage points at 130.
And now you see Colin Forster come around the outside of Ray Rogers. This would assume the lead if the 14 and all this group in the last 5-6 cars come down pit road, which I'm pretty certain they will. Now you have tandem racing, groups of cars that have split away because of how well they got on and off pit road, maybe got a little bit earlier connected coming out down the backstretch, and they were able to draft. The little advantage can turn into 2 or 3 seconds on the racetrack, and we're seeing it now with Forrester working his way up to third. He's passing some more cars, now up to second, and Shoemaker, the last car to come down pit road.
And the difference maker for these guys here that are going to assume first through fourth, they connected with each other at the exit of pit road, which is something that is pretty hard to do with these big-time super speedways when you have a pack that's pretty large and you separate them into tinier, smaller groups. So you're left with either teammates or just drivers who happen to come down on the same lap. And the big difference in whether you assume the race lead or not, or even a part of the first pack or not, is how you gather each other up coming out of pit road. Pit road speeding penalties, slow pit stops. You saw with Aaron Adcock, a missed pit stall. You have to spend a couple seconds to back up and get yourself settled into your stall. That, ultimately, all those factors can separate you from your group. And if you have less numbers, you're probably going to have less speed. This is the next biggest group on the racetrack here, and these are the two race team drivers that ultimately avoided going lap down. Isaac Mock and Mario Miranda running 12th and 13th. They have Garrett Brown, Steven Stempy, Justin Hendry, and a boatload of others behind them. Not sure, though, if they will have enough time in the final 4 laps of this stage to make anything happen for a top 10 run.
Yeah, we're talking about 4 seconds up to Eddie Smith, who's running in the 11th position at the tail end of another decently sized group led by Jonathan Cofield. So there's another split from 6th to 11th and 12th back to about 19th, 18th position. Tandems of cars, Austin Shoemaker still out there, and he's got some lap down traffic, but he's 28 seconds ahead. 42 laps on this stint. Here he comes now.
Here he goes with Chris Shoemaker. He's going to have another driver to assist with a 14 by his lonesome on the lead lap coming in. So Colin Forrester, as they're on the back straightaway going into turns 3 and 4, they will take over the lead. We'll see how racy they get. Only 4 drivers, though. They'd imagine that they're going to walk away with some pretty good points at the end of lap 130 instead of trying to junk each other for first. And that extra playoff point they can accrue if they get to the start-finish line first at the lap that we've mentioned so many times. Shoemaker's going to get past here as he comes out of pit road. So Forrester officially takes over the race lead with 3 laps to go in the stage. And remember, Bradley, how we talked about the force of Fast Banana Racing, how they were able to get all 4 of their drivers in the top 10. 3 of the top 4 are Fast Banana Toyota Camrys. Once again, getting to work and making it happen.
Not out of the woods yet, though. If they make a mistake trying to swap or maybe get some turbulence or brush each other the wrong way, Jonathan Cofield is within striking distance of a mistake. And you see right here with Fast Banana being very calm. I don't think any one of these drivers is going to try to jeopardize this situation because this is a solid second stage for all of them.
And they'll desperately need it in their chase for a championship. Oftentimes in the regular season, especially near the end, difference makers can be the stage points that you pick up even in the first race of 20. It's a long season, but one race can really be the difference between you entering a playoff mode or just having to watch the rest of the competition run for a championship while you just run laps and hope to get a race win. There's a secondary pack, by the way, building from 5th place Jonathan Cofield. And while there are 4 cars at the front in this group, everybody 5th on back, they have a pretty sustainable, larger pack behind them, and it's a little more separated, but you've got guys like Ray Rogers and Eddie Smith in there too. And then, of course, this larger group with Isaac Mock and Mario Miranda. We're not entirely sure how long it'll take them to catch up to the top 4 up front, but it may make a case that 5th on back, they have a shot. They're running pretty good laps and faster than the leaders.
Just want to clarify, as I put the white flag graphic, is it officially at the end of lap 130 on that stage break? Because, I mean, based off this distance, it still doesn't look like any of these guys are going to be able to catch up in time. That 3.5 seconds, it is chipping away, but I think it's too little too late. This top 4 has probably ran away with it.
They're going to emerge out of turn 4. Colin Forrester, pushed by his teammate Wyatt Brackett. Call this a potassium sweep. Fast Banana will come out of turn 4. Colin Forrester will make it a Fast Banana sweep in both stages here at Daytona.
Congratulations to him. And I know that some of these other guys that were in that top three, like Mario Mirinda and the 96 of Austin Reedy for that last stage, they find themselves outside of the top 20 for the 96 team. Mirinda settled out about mid-pack, back to 12th. It's been Fast Banana dictating the tempo of this race so far.
And while Austin Reedy unfortunately could not get up to his teammates in the top 10 to make it a secondary stage where all 4 of the teammates get stage points, it's going to be 3 of them, which is good enough for guys like Colin Forrester, who wins stage number 2 here at the World Center of Racing at lap number 130. So we're going to slow things down. We'll get everybody with an opportunity to come down pit road, and then it's showtime, Bradley, for 70 laps. Whether we get yellows or not, we are not going to have another break until then, and it's going to be the run to the checkered for the first win of the season to get yourself right into the 2024 playoffs. What have you seen so far from the first 2 stages that may be of note or of consideration as we get to the final dash of 70 laps to the checkered flag?
Well, if you're everybody else right now, you want to break up that team. Fast Banana just pull away from the entire field. Had this race gone green without that stage break, they might have been in a situation where they wouldn't be able to catch up. So you got to take that into consideration. You also have to do better on pit road if you are those groups that were further back. There's 4-second gap between 2 different groups. In 5th place, Cofield to Curtis Kelly in the 71. Then you go back from Isaac Mock, who was even further back. Those guys pit because they were out front for so long. The fuel just burned away, and they had to pit together to not get a lap down. So they did stay on the lead lap. There is that, but overall, you're going to have to kind of adapt your strategy when it comes to pitting.
Here they are. Race leaders coming in. Lap 130, making the pit road speed limit at 55 miles an hour. And I'll tell you, Bradley, when you're spending most of this race going 190 miles an hour, it feels agonizingly slow to go 55 on pit road. But this is going to matter a lot for position out of stage 2. And Forrester misses his pit stall, has to back up.
That's going to cost him probably a couple positions as they exit the pits, and 4 tires and fuel. This is the first time we've really seen the whole field go with 4 tires. Down and away there for the 51 car, and he'll win the battle off of pit road. It looks like the 3 of Harlow, the 30, going to be the 3rd spot. And a little toss-up here. Zach Wilson is going to win off of the pits, and staying out, Steven Stimpian, Sean Kalis in the number 90. It's a little toss-up here on the strategy. These guys, 12 laps, 24 laps, well, actually 11 laps here on the stint. They'll be officially 10 laps under green. They're going to pit sooner than all these guys.
So this changes up everything at lap 132. Stempian, Kalis, Progar, and Austin Shoemaker, all of them are going to stay out for stage 3 and the restart. Sean Kalis running a race high 2nd place after starting in 26. Steven Stempian will lead him back to the restart. In stage number 3, we are nearly done with this 200 lapper here from the World Center of Racing. Stay tuned, we've got more on the other side with coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series Season 7 opener, live on VSPEED.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller,
Yeah,
needed F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
And here comes Milo, big run out of 4. He's going to be there.
Tristan Martin's there. Cannot count out to 37.
Oh!
The ball gets burned!
Cabot, where did he come from?
Here
comes Zwack.
A punch from the 33.
It's a drag race.
The Magic Man wins it Auto Club.
Back at Daytona, 2 stages, 65 and 130, and now a last 70-lap run to the checkered flag for the Season 7 opener of the Sunoco Cup Series. Green flag restart back in the air. Top 4 stayed out. Steven Stepien leading them with Chris Progar behind him to turn 1.
And already, Stympian picking up right where he left off. He got out in front of this field after staying out for pit stops. He has the Fastenal number 7 all over the back bumper. And Zach Wilson also in this hunt. The top 3 looking pretty stout. And they've been consistent names up here in the top 10 all night.
This is the highest that we have seen that 7 car of Chris Progar all race long. He started back in 20th and was hanging around the near end of the front pack. And him staying out here has ultimately given him all this track position in the world to work with. And nobody on the outside lane means he's a little more comfortable running that very bottom lane. Austin Shoemaker has spearheaded the effort up top, pushed by the 3 of Ross Harlow. And here they come, entering turn 1 with a big run of steam.
Got another fast banana guy up there on the outside, and looking somebody to work with. He's got his teammate down there on the bottom, the 31, who won the battle off of pit road. He's a little deep in this pack right now, and as they get side by side, he's kind of going to be boxed in. So situationally, he might look to find a hole, and if you're the 71 car, you might check up a little bit and allow him to come up there, because this inside line with kind of a turbulent day. It's been back and forth here tonight, Kenneth.
You bring up a great point there, Bradley, with the likes of Forrester, Bracken, and maybe even a bit of Zach Wilson. You're playing the role of spectator here on the inside when the guys up top have a big run that they will not ignore at any means necessary. Zach Wilson really has nowhere to go. He's not going to have a push behind him to make it middle 3 wide. He's not going to move up because he's not clear, at least not until now. But coming out of turn 2, he will have a mirror full of that 14 on his right side, so it will be really much tougher to make any sort of moves, and you have to pray that the top 2 in the 88 and the 7 do something to either move out of the way or make a large move that can just break up the pack and give all these drivers that came down pit road most recently an opportunity to lead more laps at the front.
Well, then you look back here a little bit deeper in this Hornet's nest, the 99 car, who's been used to having clean air all day, deep in the 11th position. He has no Isaac Mock to help him out here either. What happened to the 47 car?
Yeah, Isaac Mock is further back in this field, and he was dropped to 20th place. He did have a 14.5-second stop, so it's not like he had a pit road speeding penalty or any other black flags. I guess he spent so much time on pit road, or either that, he just lost so much track position at the jump of the restart that he is fully separated from his teammate in Miranda. And Bradley, we talked about separating the fast banana trio of Forrester, Brackett, and Curtis Kelly. Now they've separated the race team Camrys from working together at any stretch at all. Here at lap 138, and once again that outside line where Miranda is settling cannot find the speed or momentum to get the better of the inside lane.
And the 14 is Shoemaker. He's trying like crazy right now to get that momentum built up. We haven't seen very many teams do it successfully. You can see them surge back, but they get as high as about 3rd, 4th position. They get up next to the door of Zach Wilson, and they go no further than that. And it's unfortunate here, but, you know, we still have a lot of racing left to do, and green flag pit stops are guaranteed. Well, they're not guaranteed. I would say pit stops are guaranteed, so we can still see a shuffle up here in the top 5.
It's going to get really close. This 14 of Shoemaker is going to get a big run, and now they will be joined by the 31 of Forrester. So the Jacksonville native is saying, I've had enough of this inside lane. He'll make the swing up top, and now it'll switch over in a trade-off for a driver that adds to the low side. The 3 of Ross Harlow makes the move underneath. He'll push Sean Kalist in the middle of the top 10.
Back up here again, Shane Wyatt, who had a good first stage, not so great in the second one, but he's back up here into the top 10 now. You see those trades. Oh, little turbulence there, the 88 car, and they shuffle up towards the front. They're still going at it. Car off the line, I believe that's the 90 machine.
Yeah, Kalis got bumped out of line there exiting turn 4 as they all checked up. It started with Progar giving a faulty push to Steven Stempian. Slowed down everyone up there, and it could have been absolutely chaotic. They are almost wrecking still in the back.
And that's the guy we were talking about earlier, Isaac Mock, who had fallen back to 20th, now loses 4 more spots, and they were turbulent coming off of turn 2. Swatting flies in the cockpit of these machines, it's never a comforting feeling when you can't just at least drive your own line. You got guys crowding you and 3 wide as they came in. Now the 96 down to the bottom. Man, the intensity has picked up, Kenneth.
Yeah, Austin Reedy, I was about to mention that 96 car. He was the culprit of hitting that 47 Toyota Camry. And while we mentioned the fallback through the field for the 47, it goes the same way for Reedy. He spent a majority of this race up front. Big push from, that was Justin Hendry right behind him, and that could have easily gone haywire. Almost went fully sideways, but he's also pushed back to the rear end of this first pack. Meanwhile, up front, Zach Wilson is broken free. He's got the lead on the super stretch.
He's got the guy that's been doing it all race long. Stage winner of number 2, the 31, Colin Forster. And he kind of used the 51 car to get that momentum, get clear of the 88 of Stepien, and now he's going to take the lead as they come out of 4.
Zach Wilson was the winner at the Darlington Raceway. Last season, he was not able to get a win at a super speedway. Does that change in the final 60 laps? Here from Daytona, Forster is going to push ahead to turn 1.
You see the 7 as we ride on the back of Stepien. He's that 3rd car in line. You'll see as this race progresses, that 3rd car will get a little bit closer or maybe even push. And I know that's something that was kind of the cardinal rule with the older cars, that you never want to be the 3rd guy in line and on the back bumper. But with this car, it's a little more forgiving. The bumpers match up a little bit better. And the 51, man, he lost a ton of time there in the entrance of 3.
The inside line presses forward once more. It was a bit haphazard for Zach Wilson to gain any momentum. He swaps down low, and that got really scary. One driver moves up high. It was Jonathan Cofield. Now Wilson says, I'll take a second look at it. Cofield, the rookie, leads that second line, and it got all out of shape. Broken up. A lot of drivers in the top 4 have separated themselves from Ross Harlow, 5th on back. And I was about to bring up a point, Bradley. If you look at 2nd and 3rd place, Steven Stepien and Chris Progar, they stayed out on that stage caution at lap 130. Problem is, they are going to be 23 laps into their stint when we cross the start-finish line, which means as long as we stay under green, they're going to be at the mercy of running out of fuel. They have to come down pit road, and it will not be with everyone else around them. So it's a big risk they're playing from staying out. They earn the track position, but they lose track position if they have to pit at this stage under green.
Well, as we talk about that, you're seeing more changes for position and more guys going to that outside. The 99 moved up. The 30 thought, well, I'll go with you. Wyatt Brackett and Mario Miranda trying to surge back. And remember, Miranda fell out of the top 10. He was actually at risk of going a lap down. What a rebound here after the stage break. He's inside the top 5 now as they go down the backstretch.
When he crossed the start-finish line at lap 143, he was in 8th. Now he's moved up to 5th with the 30 car of Wyatt Brackett up top with the Toyota Camrys. We're going to try to make this work with a lap machine that the field is desperately approaching. That's going to be Brad Fulham in the 19. He'll take the 3rd lane, no problem, as they enter the tri-oval. Probably the best place on the racetrack to get to lap traffic as they make it 3 wide for a short split second. Miranda is going to stay behind this 30 car, but they have sort of stagnated around 4th place.
And everybody able to navigate around that car in the 19 machine, but then the 16 brushes the wall there in the exit of 2. So that causes some more turbulence. That outside line really organized. They can't afford, if they want another crack at it here up front, they need to keep it together.
The 31 of Forster is going to hold on, a driver who finished 5th. And our last outing at Daytona, Miranda makes the squeeze down low in between Curtis Kelly and Eddie Smith. What a move.
There was a hole wide enough for his car, and that was it. And he found it. I don't know if Eddie communicated over iRacing chat or not to say, yeah, come on down. He just did it. I mean, now in the situation, he lost a lot of spots there on that outside. He's going to try to work back up. As you see, they get the headroom. Maybe wants to lead in front of this 30 car. We'll see.
And this Bradley is all in an effort, at least for Miranda, to make constant adjustments behind the wheel and with either of the lines that you're running here at Daytona with the pack around you to gain track position. You mentioned a great point. He noticed he was losing ground running the very top, so he said, okay, let's move down low. Let's be a little more momentous in this occasion and let me gain a little more track position by not struggling up top with the rest of those guys. And you're making these adjustments, Bradley, at around 197 plus miles an hour as Wyatt Brackett gets loose coming out of the trioval. But what are you constantly thinking about? At 197, 200 miles an hour, you're constantly making decisions that can make or break your race, all in an effort like Miranda showed you there to gain track position and be in a better place.
Well, I'm hoping that there's somebody on top of the box that's doing that thinking for me, and I'm just focused on the car because your heart rate is very close to the speed you're traveling most of this time. And just like in the real world, you never really come off of that unless we hit a caution. So right now, to make on-the-fly decisions when your heart rate and your brain are going close to the speed of this race car, you have to do it on the fly. You can't think about it. You have to react. And that's what the 99 did. He found a hole that was just big enough for his car. He moved down to the inside line, mitigates the damage. And that 30 car and the 58 there on the outside with Jonathan Cofield, Wyatt Brackett, they've been side by side with him, so it wasn't a bad move. He hasn't really lost or gained anything. He just didn't lose anything in the process.
He stayed where he's at, maybe a little more comfortable running the inside as opposed to just sort of stagnating at the top and having fluctuations of different numbers of cars that end up there or moving back down low. Miranda is going to get the big run, though, exiting turn 4. Zach Wilson also wants to make an effort down low, tried to do the same thing Miranda did, but was not clear.
It wasn't there, and I'm glad he thought better of it because there was about 20 cars behind him that thought, this is the one.
It doesn't get any closer than this. And a track this fast and this wide, as there's a look on board with Wilson, still running behind Jonathan Cofield. And speak of this 58 car, the driver for Big Fish Motorsports, the job that he is doing in his first ever Sunoco Cup Series race, running most of this event inside the top 10, and in both stages, being able to finish quite well and got some stage points, finishing 5th in stage 2.
Well, I had faith. I've heard the name many, many times. We say it almost 5 days a week here on VSPEED, and I'm happy that he's having the race that he's having right now. But if I know anything about the commentator's curse, I'm going to put the camera back up here. Yeah.
All right, no more talking about Jonathan Cofield. He's still second, though, behind Wyatt Brackett on that middle lane outside. They have still made no significant charges to the front. Wyatt remains in that fight for about 5th place with Shane Wyatt in the 27 on the inside. The control car still, Colin Forster. Here's a look back at a secondary group, which has Aaron Adcock right behind Lawson Peel, right behind Brandon Banks, and right behind Justin Erb. These are all drivers a lap down or more, 34th on back. They're trying to get up to 31st. Chris Shoemaker, who's the first car a lap down. Really tough, Bradley, to see the races for them turn out the way they have.
Yeah, if you're trying to catch up here to Chris Shoemaker, well, that's not going to happen unless we get a yellow because he's up here in this lead pack and he's the first car a lap down by a mile. He actually has Austin Reedy, though, that's to the outside just behind him, so playing that into the factor. But I think right now, you would probably come down and top off with fuel. I think these guys could get a wave around and stay out if they're lucky enough to have it fall the right way. 51 car in the middle, though, and we're working on it still. 3 wide now.
Wilson pushing through the middle, 3 wide. Question is, does he have help? The answer is going to be sort of. The 14 is going to move up high and work with Cofield.
He had sort of help, but now he's in the sucker hole and drops down. Wise decision there. Again, that's another one of those moves that you have to make, and you just don't think about it. You drop down, you see a hole, they say clear, go for it, and so now mitigates the damage, only falls back to 14th position. But the outside line, it's 10 cars deep now, and Wyatt Brackett has not been able to get anything going. Cofield's tried, but that turbulence there with the 51 car dropping down, they have to start all over again.
Only 6 cars up there, and everyone else on the bottom, yes, they are checking up, but the outside really isn't gaining much because there are so many guys hugging that double yellow line. One of them who's moved almost into the top 10, we haven't said his name much, at least in the same vein as the front of the pack, Joe Sanchez for Drinkin' Bros Racing has spent a majority of this 152-lap run so far at the back of the field with his teammates Lawson Peel and Brandon Banks. Flipped the switch here in stage 2 and now has a possibility at a top 10 run.
Yeah, coming up here on the final approach, this is really where you want to be in these spots because they don't ask you how, they ask you how many. And if you win this race, it really does put a punctuation mark at the end of it. You've had all these other scenarios with trying to stick with teammates, but now you got to be out there for yourself at some point in this race, and I think that's why he's up here now.
Joe Sanchez in his number 55, Ally Chevrolet, running clean for the moment. But ultimately, still a long way to go here at Daytona International Speedway. He did not make the Daytona race last time we were here back in season number 6. So unfortunately, not a lot of history, at least in the last year or so, between Sanchez and this track with this competition around. But Sanchez is looking to get a pretty good finish, still looking to catch up to the 31 of Colin Forrester, and they do not have an identity, Bradley Cooper, at the very top lane. Cofield is still trying to push that 30 car of Wyatt Brackett, but they haven't really found their sense of self yet. It's really hampered their ability to get to the front.
Maybe they should radio down to that 71 car. He's been working that line all day, and they've been up to the front at the end of these races for every stage. There's been a 71 car up at the front on the outside line.
Curtis Kelly is going to stay loyal this time to the inside lane. That might be the first time you really say that in a sentence, but Shane White ahead is going to maintain the draft with Ross Harlow, Chris Progar, and Steven Stempien. Mind you, going to be about 11 to 15 laps for most of the main pack to come down pit road at around lap 35 to 40 on a stint. Stempien and Progar are on currently lap 34 on their tank of fuel, so we could expect them to come down pit road sooner than later, although it doesn't appear, Bradley, that nor the 88 or the 70, or the 7 rather, they are not attempting to save. They're still at 110%. They don't look like they're conserving at all.
Well, you made your bed, you got to lay on it, so you might as well be up front when it happens and kind of avoid whatever could be a racing event. And you see the outside line, they're not really a threat of losing any speed or losing any positions, so stick to the inside line so when you do have to pit, you don't have to radio in. You can just come down together and get it out of the way, try to make it as fluent as possible.
They're going to hope, though, that they saved enough fuel and they have enough drivers with them to come down pit road to at least keep their race for the win intact. And Steven Stempien, who had a really successful Season 6 campaign, was able to win multiple races, won 2. His most recent win in this series was at the Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway in early June, race number 11. And also got the win at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, which deemed by some of the Sunoco Cup Series drivers as pretty much an instant classic. A lot of fun in that race at Las Vegas, Nevada. Now here comes the outside lane for the taking again. They have finally unleashed a run that's worthy enough of a top 5 run. Brackett's going to get the shove out of 2 by Cofield. They have finally gotten some organization under their belt. There they go to turn 3 with a look at 4th place.
That's probably the biggest surge we've seen in the last 15 laps by the 30 and the 58 car. And how confident Cofield has gotten on the back bumper of Wyatt Brackett to come out of turn 2, glued to that bumper. I mean, there's not even a second for error there. Through the tri-oval, glued to it again. They're going to maintain this about 3rd position on the outside now. Chris Progar, and a move there by the 88. He's finally glued back to the bumper of Colin Forrester. So these guys still at 110%, like you said. And the 88 car is saving nothing to keep that lead.
The question is, does anyone with Progar, Stempien, or Colin Forrester, do they move up to block this momentum by the 30 car and this secondary line? For now, the answer is no, and this is great racing on the edge of what's going to be our next round of green flag stops if we do not get a caution flag. We haven't seen many of them for on-track incidents, only 2 in the 1st and 2nd stage. Our other cautions come from the stage ends at lap 65 and lap 130. But look at this. Top 3 have broken away. Everybody else fourth on back on the inside, gone.
Not sure if there was a little check up there with Ross Harlow. I know he was blinking just a moment ago. And what will happen on the simulator side of things, if that car is not appearing, it will lose the draft for the car behind them. So maybe that had part of it there. You'll see it Accordion back now. His connection stabilized, so that hole closes back up. But the outside has completely fallen apart just as it started to make some headroom. Now they've lost all their cars, and the 58 dives down to the inside.
Jonathan Cofield, who was loyal to the 30 for a bunch of that run, is now going to head back down, and this could be that transition, Bradley, the migration to the bottom. They need to make their way down pit road soon. It's all going to be about what you do from here on out, because as we'll cross the line here at lap 160, Bradley, this is the edge of the window. Lap 40 laps to go. If you pit now and you save a good amount, you can make it to the end of this race. Any pit stop from here on out is probably sure enough to get you to the checkered flag on fumes. So is this just a slow migration to the inside to make sure that the last stop goes smoothly without any problems?
Yeah, I think right now you're just in the scenario, like you said, on the edge of that window. You'll see some guys try to tank and chance that. There's a car moving up to the outside that we talked about a little bit earlier as the 7 and the 88 come down pit road. This is the first group, the guys that stayed out during that last stage break. Kind of predicted that they would be the first ones in. Where do they shake out now? That's the question. They pitted pretty well, and they'll be able to get back in contact with each other coming out of pit road.
And a pit road speeding penalty for the 7 of Chris Progar. A little too hot coming in. He gets the black flag, and he has to make the long wait on his pit stall. That is going to kill any chance of him winning this race if we don't get a yellow. Here's a replay of their run to pit road, and luckily for Stepien and Progar, Bradley, they had some other drivers with them to come in, but Progar came in way too hot.
Yeah, and you see that car on the outside. That's kind of what he was judging it based off of. But at that point, he was like, well, I already got the speeding penalty, so I'm just going to drive through my stalls and hit it a little bit faster. But now the long wait, that's unfortunate there for Chris Progar. He was in a good scenario for the end of this race.
Really tough for Progar, who came home 24th in our last race here at Daytona back in Season 6. It appears here for Progar now, it's not going to be that much greater of a finish. As behind in this secondary group, a bit of switching for position, Justin Erb falling back. Brandon Banks was settled into 21st place. He's going to hold on to what's ever left of that single file train as more cars come out of 4. It's getting really sketchy for everyone that's single file or double wide. Again, Bradley, with the knowledge that they do have to come down pit road soon.
Well, then the 96 car, who was just up there for a moment, he's going a lap down now. I take that back. Maybe my timing is going a little bit broken here on this one. The turbulence coming out of turn 4, I think they were offset 3 wide across the entirety of the top 10, and now settle back down with Shoemaker on the bottom. Now the 56 car, 55 rather, finds himself into the top 5. He's going to have a better shot here coming down pit road to stick with some of these drivers. When do you come down?
Great point, and also about turbulence too. How many times have we seen cars go sideways off the exit of 4 by themselves? Justin Hendry did it, caused the first yellow with James Kunkel, and the 4 car of Chris Shoemaker, who's running second in this line, but at this moment he is 27th a lap down.
Oh, Sturgeon
up here, car on the wall. Logan Sturgeon, he saves it.
That was just behind the 6, and now he has no help. They were making one heck of a surge on the entry of 1. I thought they were going to get up there to the top 5, but then that little tap at the wall pretty much stalled the run.
And look who's behind this 26 of Sturgeon, inside the top 10. The 22, Justin Winters, on a new team for 2024, repping Allen's Legacy Racing, a brand new squad for Season 7. It was made by Alex Huffman, who's the driver pushing Justin Winters. So these two teammates are coupled up together at around 11th and 12th. Really nice to see, Bradley, as the race has developed. These guys moving their way up through the field as looks like guys on the bottom are starting to save a bit.
And I see Do It for Allen on the hood of that number 10 machine, and I don't know what the referral is to that. You might have more information on that than I would. But as they cycle down, you see the inside line is 30 cars deep. The 22 and the 10, they're going to probably just get stuck out here for another lap. As Shoemaker is leading this group, he has the 4 behind him. It's another one of those family duos here. We've got 2 of them on the track now this season.
Yeah, really awesome to see all the duos and all the relations coming together here in the Sunoco Cup Series. I noticed that the inside line is starting to fall back, potentially in an effort to save fuel. Let's help Justin Winters and Alex Huffman go full throttle and take advantage of all the real estate that's available in front of them. You could also couple in Sean Kalis in the 90, who is not running on the lead lap currently, but still can affect everybody in this group. He is 1 lap down in 28th behind Chris Shoemaker. That's going to be the fight for the lucky dog, by the way, if we do get a yellow flag, or the fight to unlap himself here with around 34 laps to go. These guys are approaching lap 35 to 40 on their stint. There is the 14 of Austin Shoemaker. He pulls the trigger along with others for pit road this time.
Next car's going to get a penalty, and he locks it up. He missed his stall by about 400 feet there.
You're right. Dustin Reeves, black flag penalty. Second car penalized for speeding on pit road.
He's still trying to find that stall. That's unfortunate there, but when you qualify or lack of qualifying, you started back deep in this field, somewhere around the 30th position. You got to remind yourself that my pit stall comes up immediately when I come into the pits.
And now this group leading the field. That's Chris Shoemaker, the lap car, but for the lead lap traffic, Colin Forrester, Justin Winters, Kip Easley, Alex Huffman, they switch over to the left. They hop on the binders. They're in for pit road here at lap 167. A reminder that you will make it to the end of this race. Kip Easley got sideways and got smacked by Sanchez on the way in.
Yeah, he hit that commitment cone, so I'm interested to see if he got a black flag there because he actually trimmed it with the right front. He'll probably get a penalty for an unsafe pit entry on this one. We'll keep the camera on him, but yeah, that's unfortunate. Left side tires going on here for the 8 machine as they drop the jack. He's got a hold.
As everyone on pit road, the other penalty assessed to Justin Hendry in the 85, also for a pit road violation. So him and Dustin Reeves will have to serve that penalty by waiting long on pit road as Winters and Huffman now hop on the brakes. They're in for pit road. Final pit stop to make here at lap 168 of 200. Luckily, no problems. And for the lead, Brandon Banks should assume it if he's not coming in. He will not. So the Geico Chevrolet, for the first time tonight, Bradley Cooper will be in control here at Daytona. And, very surprised to see Brandon Banks running up front now and running in the back for most of this affair, because in another league at Talladega Superspeedway, he's always known for running up front. Always a driver that can position himself in the right way at the end of the race, and usually through the middle of the run is always the guy you're talking about in the top 10 or top 15. Tonight, that Drinkin' Bros Racing strategy of staying back has worked well for some, but has worked sort of poorly for the others, including Banks, who now takes the lead. But you look at Lawson Peel, got into a crash earlier in the race, and guys like, you look at Joe Sanchez, who moved up front, and Kip Easley, who's sort of in the middle of all this. It's been really back and forth for this Drinkin' Bros Racing team on this strategy.
We look back here at the second group that's being led by Steven Stempien, some of the first cars that started this green flag tandem of pit stops. He has Ross Harlow, Alex Muscarella, Dakota Curtis. How about the recovery from him after that early caution in this race? He's since got some of that damage repaired, and he's into the top 10 and 6th.
And the 43 car making moves here at this stage of the race. One of those guys for the Drop in the Hammer team. That will help in the case of his teammate several cars ahead, in Alex Muscarella, in Steven Stempien, and in Ross Harlow. So make that 3rd through 5th place. Bradley, all of them teammates. That's going to be huge.
You can see they're already communicating as they navigate around the lap traffic and getting by for lap 171. Brandon Banks still out there, but what your point earlier about how it's kind of sitting back and waiting on things to happen sometimes can put you in a scenario like this where you're so far off the pace and you've lost the lead group. Now you've kind of put it in other people's hands to bring out a yellow or to recover your day as they approach the 40 lap mark. They're going to have to come down pit road, I'd say, this time or next time by. And so that puts them back a lap down. Banks needs a caution.
Him and Garrett Brown desperately need one. This would help them eliminate any situation of them coming a lap down, as there's one car in that pack that it will come down pit road. And then here's the other group: Wyatt Brackett, Justin Winters, Alex Huffman, and the 96 of Austin Reedy, who has fallen down a lap to the leaders back in 32nd. It's been a poor run for Reedy ever since the midway point of this race. But regardless, he's in this pack. And then you've got Colin Forrester at the back of this group, and everyone else through: Sanchez, Wilson, Miranda, Eddie Smith, Austin Shoemaker, Isaac Mock, Richard Swavely, and you can even add the car right behind in Logan Sturgeon and Jesse Whittington. This pack has completely altered and separated Bradley with under 30 laps to go, and it's all about who can switch over in the right places as Brandon Banks and Garrett Brown are heading for pit lane this time.
Well, and again, it goes back. They did trim off some of the fat there with the last set of pit stops under green. Last time around, it was 4 seconds separating each one of these packs. Now it's about 2-3 seconds. So they did trim it up a little bit, but how are you supposed to get back to this lead if you've got a tandem of cars like this? The 88, the 3, the 48, guys that we talked about at the beginning of this race that were absolutely pushers to the front of this field. And now they find themselves with less than 30 to go in the right place at the right time.
And 2 of these drivers did not finish well the last time we were at Daytona, and it's the top 2. Steven Stempian finished in 18th. Ross Harlow came home in 19th, and both of them started that race inside the top 10. The best finisher out of the top 3 at Daytona last time we were there was Alex Muscarella, who came home in 8th place. So the 48 machine looking to repeat, if not improve, on his record at the World Center of Racing in the last year or so in the Sunoco Cup Series. It will be 27 laps to go this time by, and Steven Stepien has the control.
Let's see if he's still locked in here. He's been concentrated all day today. Is he on board with him now? Yeah, still looking really locked in. I don't even think the position of his earbuds have changed.
Motionless on his bottom right camera. We mentioned, at least you said it, Bradley, he was locked in the last time we looked at him. Well, this is even more locked in, as he's got a big shove from behind. Ross Harlow and Alex Muscarella are not afraid to push this 88 car with enough ferocity, and in the case, drop the hammer on him. We'll see how that all changes, though, in the next 26 or so laps. But really, my curiosity is going to come from that second pack. Wyatt Brackett and company, Jonathan Cofield, the 96 of Austin Reedy, Colin Forrester, are they going to have enough to catch up to this main pack? Because there is one car that's sort of lagging in the group, and it is going to be the 85 car of Justin Hendry. That might be the connector, Bradley, between this second pack and the main group. But whether it's going to work, it's all going to be a matter of time. There's Hendry there on the left side of your screen, and the 4-pack in your center. Could that be enough to give them the extra speed and momentum to get to the first group?
Well, if you remember, this car got caught up in a caution. He's actually moving up out of the way. He's way off the pace. I don't know that this car will really add much speed. And as you watch there on the deficit, with you're riding on board with the 30 machine with Wyatt Brackett, that gap has grown a little bit each lap. It was 2 seconds after pit stops. It's now somewhere hovering around 3.8 seconds. They're starting to match the lap times last time by, 45.7 to a 45.8, but it keeps going back and forth. They're going to have to keep it perfect here for these remaining 25 laps.
You can only do so much, but if you're still at least a tenth or so faster, it's not going to be that big of a benefit to get you to the main pack. Maybe it helps you a little bit, but if you're running mirror image laps to those guys up front, well then really say sayonara to your chances of getting to them and making this a proper race to the front. It's all going to be about what those front drivers do. If they're so disorganized that they lose a lot of time, or if the smaller group in themselves are more organized and more cohesively active with each other, that they can gain a lot of time. I think now they did, because the main pack just set laps in the 46 flat second bracket. Everybody else with Wyatt Brackett on back, 45.6s, almost 4/10 of an advantage. That was a big gain.
And we're looking back here with the third pack, and Joe Sanchez, he ran a 45.9 the last time by. They're not catching the second group, but they are catching the first group. And I think once that second pack catches up here to Stympian and the likes of, the top 6, there's going to be kind of an accordion effect, because then now you have the inside and outside line fighting each other, the side draft, all those other things. So I think with about 10 to go, we could see 15, 20 cars racing for the win.
You ask yourself, what's more valuable, a larger pack but with a little more separation versus a 4-car pack, but they are pretty much close-knit to each other, nose to tail, and running faster laps in the main pack. You have to ask yourself that if you're these guys at the front, but you really have no other choice. This is where you have to lie in your bed, and there is Wyatt Brackett that time by. It was way slower, though, 46.4 for Brackett for everybody ahead in the 46 flats. Another big swing in momentum.
Yeah, for everything they made up, they kind of gave some of it back here, and the pushing getting a little more aggressive now as the 10 of Huffman, Alex Huffman, all over the back bumper through that turn. Waiting to see here this time by. Looks like another loss here on the time of almost a full second. So they start to push ahead, and that gap grows to 4.9, almost 5 seconds.
Oh, but look how much they sort of dissipated there on that push. Alex Huffman almost sent Wyatt Brackett around, and it checked up Colin Forrester and Austin Reedy. So with their lack of organization, that's resulting in the lost time. And there's everyone else behind. Joe Sanchez and the rest of this tertiary group are possibly on the way to pick them up. And a caution flag is out. Yellow flag here at Daytona. We're going to figure out who was responsible for the incident. But the yellow flag comes out at lap 179, and Bradley, this changes everything.
Well, all the strategy that we were talking about, Kenneth, we're going to completely forget about it in chat, right?
And there was carnage coming out of 4 to the tri-oval. It appears that Charles Phelps in the 75 got collected with Ray Rogers and Dustin Reeves. Make that a 4-car pack that got collected in the incident. Phelps goes sideways in the middle of the tri-oval, and that brings out the caution. What happened here, Bradley?
I think Phelps just got a bump out of 4, or maybe got loose and then touched. Got down there into the 6. Dustin Reeves just didn't know what was happening. That was on board with Ray Rogers, but let's get a blimp camera here. Let's see if we can get a better angle. You're going to see the 75 get really loose, and I think he did get touched.
Yeah, he got pushed by Adcock at the wrong place. That's exiting the corner. That's probably one of the worst places to push a race car, because it will get them sideways with that angle and trajectory, so it pushes Phelps down the racetrack into Dustin Reeves, then back up the racing surface into Adcock and Ray Rogers. And boy, that is such a tough sequence of events for all the teammates at Poman Motorsports. 3 of them involved in the yellow flag, as here's the decision for pit road. Stympian, Harlow, and company, they're going to stay out. Almost everyone else is going to come in, and it's sort of a split decision between the 2 packs.
If you were outside that top 10, you really don't have much to lose. You're now caught back up to this group, and we were worried about what was going to come into play. That third pack was catching the second small tandem of cars. Steven Stympian and Ross Harlow leading the first group had pulled away to almost 5 seconds. But now to shake it all out, you're going to have less than 20 to go. If you thought it was aggressive before the stage breaks, it's going to get really crazy.
We are cranking it up to 20 on this last run to the checkered flag. And part of why you're seeing so many guys stay out is because they did pit in the window to make it on gas. And if you are still questioning their ability to make it on a tank of fuel to lap 200, this caution is going to give the field a little more reassurance. And you can hear it on board with Steven Stympian. He is clutching and coasting, trying to save as much as possible. And that will matter later on in this race, Bradley, just because we have 3 green-white checkered attempts to finish this race. If we have to extend it past lap 200, which will affect the pit road strategy. As you add more laps, under yellow and under green, you are affecting how much you have left in the tank to make it in. We've seen it often before. Drivers on green, white checkered attempts running out of fuel just because they didn't consider it. These guys here at the front know that the fate might go down that route, and so they're just making sure they have that box checked.
Well, you can compare it to other sports like football. As soon as they announce an overtime, you flip a coin. So now you flip that coin, do you have enough for the end? Do you have enough to drive those extra 3 laps? With the first caution, green, white checker, if we get into that scenario, I think these guys will be okay. But then you start to approach that kind of gray area. The second green, white checker, and then even the third, because we know from any experience on oval racing, cautions breed cautions. And there's a good chance here with less than 20 to go that these guys are going to get aggressive. You've seen a lot of drivers that are now in recovery. You see Joe Sanchez, who's up there in 8th. He's finally caught up to this group now with the caution. These guys are hungry, and they didn't get the stages they wanted. They've got to go for a win.
So here's the reset of the field for you at lap 182 for a restart inside 17 to go. Steven Stempien, your race leader. Ross Harlow on the outside in the 3 car. Alex Muscarella, who has been up front virtually all race long, is going to look to complete this race with a W. He sits inside row 2. Dakota Curtis, quite possibly the most compelling comeback story of this race, involved in a caution right around here on the racetrack on the back straightaway, collected Lawson Peel, repaired his race car, and he is in position to win inside 4th place. Wyatt Brackett, the saving grace of that caution come out as they were in that second pack trying to catch up. He's now in 5th. Alex Huffman, his best race up until now, the rookie driver, is in 6th place. Colin Forster back in 7th. Joe Sanchez inside the top 10 again in 8th. Zach Wilson in 9th. And Mario Miranda in the 99 is the last driver inside the top 10. These are a lot of heavy hitters sprinkled in with some drivers who have made the statement in the second half of this event. And it's down to the final 17 to decide a winner here from the World Center of Racing. It's Stempien and Ross Harlow coming out of turn 4. Both of them finished barely inside the top 20 the last time we were here after starting inside the top 10. Well, now they have a shot at flipping the entire script and making it a Season 7 win to kick off 2024. Pace car is down. Stempien, Harlow to the restart zone and to the green flag. By Stempien, they have completely abandoned any opportunity at organizing the outside lane. Look at Miranda and Wilson making it 3 wide through the middle.
I was seeing that happen right there on that restart. The 30 had kind of dropped out of line, and the 51 said, okay, I'm taking advantage of this situation. And luckily has Miranda on the back bumper, but now leaves him out to dry. All that momentum that the 99 had going, now it relies on the 14 of Shoemaker behind him.
Alex Huffman in the 10 car got absolutely left for dead, and the 14 is going to give the shove to the 99. A big run out of 4 cannot be ignored. So far, though, Stempien has it cleared by about 5 or so cars, and the 99 will have to play that game of staying up there until somebody... Curtis is around on the inside. They're crashing up into the outside wall. Miranda's hard into the wall. He's up in the air, and it's a big one in turn 1.
We've been waiting to see that all night. We had since kind of forgotten that that's a factor here at Daytona. But it starts with the 43 getting shot out of line, then the hard check there on the outside. Miranda's done for the day.
Miranda was on his lid until he came back on all 4s. That car is torn up. And that takes out so many guys we thought could be in contention for this win. Colin Forrester, Austin Shoemaker, Joe Sanchez, who went hard into the safer barrier at the exit of turn 1. We'll have to take a look at that again. It all started with the 43 of Curtis, who I believe got tapped by Zach Wilson on the inside. And as the 51 skyrockets up the racetrack, that's where the carnage ensues.
Wow, what a hit there with the 55 and the 99. The end result is the 99 gets flipped over on his lid. But let's ride on board here with the 55 car because he had almost made it through it and just got tagged at the end of it.
55 of Sanchez, right behind the 31 of Colin Forster. There's where Curtis gets turned. And Sanchez thought he had this cleared. He thought it was fine until, bam, hooked right into the outside wall. That's an ugly hit.
Oh, another car I think we need to go on board with. This is our chance to maybe poke a little fun, but, I mean, he made it through, mitigated the damage. Eddie Smith, let's go on board with him. Wild ride here for the 87. Riding in about the 9th, 10th position here.
Listen in. All the space down low. And then a bit of drifting to add a bit of style points. Eddie Smith, great avoidance there at the end to avoid any damage and stays alive in this one. That is the biggest crash that we have seen all race long. And, you know, we were talking about the previous cautions for on-track incidents. You know, it was a two-car happening with Justin Hendry and James Kunkel, then another small pack of cars getting involved with Curtis Kelly and Lawson Peel. This, though, will take out a chunk of the field here at Daytona.
Yeah, that's over half the field involved in this thing, and heavy damage. The 94 gets into the 31, your stage winner of stage number 2. He's got a ton of damage. The 99, not the way he wanted this day to end. But ultimately, down on pit road, Steven Stempien resumes the lead, the 48 of Alex Muscarella. We're going to re-rack him here, and it's going to be a lot to sort out. But here tonight at Daytona for the Sunoco Cup Series, it's been a good one thus far. We're going to have less than 10 to go about when we go back green. You're watching the Sunoco Cup Series live on VSPEED. More right after this.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller,
Yeah,
need an F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Inside 13 to go from the World Center of Racing for the Season 7 opener of the Sunoco Cup Series. Glad you're with us on VSPEED, where alongside Bradley Cooper, our producer and colleague in the booth tonight, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Here's the reset after our first big one of the night, taking out many drivers that were in contention to win, most notably Joe Sanchez, Colin Forster, Wyatt Brackett, Mario Miranda, a heap of cars involved in that incident. But at lap 188, our next restart, it's going to be Steven Stempien, Alex Muscarella, Ross Harlow, Eddie Smith, Zach Wilson, your top 5, Isaac Mock, Sean Kalis, Justin Winters, Dakota Curtis, and Shane Wyatt, the rest of your top 10. Still a marathon, not a sprint. To the end of this race, 13 laps is enough to change the entire complexity of what we've seen thus far. Stempien and Muscarella, the two drivers' teammates, at dropping the hammer, gonna take the green flag with about 12 laps to go at lap 188.
Not a great start there for that outside, but the 48 car knew that, and so does the 87. They drop down to the bottom to mitigate that restart. Bunch of holes there on the bottom of the racetrack. Stympian pulls out with the 3 car, and more of the same since we've seen pretty much from lap 120 on.
And the new leader of the outside lane, Isaac Mock, in the 47. It's going to be a huge run, not to ignore on the back straightaway, but again, it comes down to how many cars they have up there and the organization they have in this collective group as a whole. They haven't really been able to make much headway in the form of moving up to the lead unless they have a bunch of cars with them. It's going to be the same fate for Mock, though, as he enters the top 6. He's going to get another spot here on Sean Kalis coming out of the trial bowl. Stampede will lead them to what's going to be 11 laps to go here from the World Center of Racing. And now Bradley, the outside line, has a run.
But they're already turbulent there. They've got a damaged 27 car who's just kind of there on the back bumper of the 22. And for Isaac Mock right now, you need that guy on your back bumper if you want any shot to get up here at the lead and clear the 88, because Harlow is all over it. Muscarella's all over it. 3 cars in tandem pushing into 3.
And Harlow theoretically is looking to go 2 in a row. Season 6 finale at Homestead of Miami Speedway. He was able to grab his 2nd win of the season. From the offseason till now, Harlow's in position to bring that Valhalla Project Chevrolet Camaro to Daytona victory lane. All the teammates were dropping the hammer 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in collective order. Bradley, the question is, if you're Zach Wilson and anyone else behind, when do you make a move on this trio?
I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question here, Kenneth, because everything that I've predicted here tonight was we got a car off the racetrack back there that looked like Huffman got shoved out of line. But, I mean, if you're gauging it right now, first you have to get there. And, yeah, this top 3, they can kind of make their own music, but they don't want to allow it too early, because that 47, if they break away or try to make any moves now, I think that's going to cost them a top 3. I think you wait here to maybe 1 or 2 laps to go before you try anything.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is scratch the record player when you're putting a vinyl on it that says victory lane on it. And for this inside lane, no real drastic moves quite yet. They want to stay single file within 9 laps to go. Isaac Mock pushed into the top 5 for a second, has the push from the 22 of Justin Winters behind him. But still, the lack of numbers on the top lane isn't doing them much good. And even worse than, they're going to go 3 wide as Shane Wyatt makes it a 3 wide move at the top.
Winters into the sucker hole here. The 47 now only has help from the 27 car, and he gets sucker holed in as well. That damaged machine leading this pack is not going to help that outside line. They're going to have to find a way to file him out, because the nose on that car says it cannot lead this pack.
And whatever momentum the outside lane had several laps ago, that has been fully eradicated. Inside 8 laps to go. And there's a look at this mid-pack. Chris Progar is back in it. Jesse Whittington, we haven't called his name out for most of this race. These guys, Richard Swavely there too in the 32 car. These guys have a shot at either good points or a race win. Whittington is going to give it a shot on the outside lane. And so is Curtis. Whittington back down low. He makes contact. He's into the outside wall. Around goes Logan Sturgeon. And there's another pileup with 8 to go. Caution is out.
And they're still wrecking here in the entrance of 3 and 4. It was the 33 of Stephen Harlow who was trying to avoid that. But what starts it all is that check there. Whittington got into the back of the 43. They kind of moved up together and then didn't mesh well.
Not what you wanted to see at all if you're Logan Sturgeon, Dakota Curtis, and a bit of Jesse Whittington. Here's a look from Sturgeon, Chevrolet Camaro, and that's where it all goes wrong. That miscommunication, Bradley, as Whittington wanted to go back underneath Curtis. And that 43 was going to send a block for the ages on the top side that had a big run building up. Here's a look from Curtis.
Man, it's a wonder Curtis didn't get involved in that. Luckily, he still had the hole to his inside that he had just left. He could have collected Progar as well.
So another pretty substantial pileup between many drivers who were looking to make a statement in the final laps of this race. Of course, Logan Sturgeon in the number 26 car will bring his Full Lock Racing car to pit road. Shane Wyatt, of course, had a bit of a hit in that. He's on pit road too. Richard Swabley in the 32, I believe, was luckily able to get mostly around that incident. And so it looks like he should be okay. He is in the top 10, but he has also brought his car down pit road. So, and for Jesse Whittington, he had the first hit to Dakota Curtis in the 43. So ultimately, this is a full race, a full team sweep of Full Lock Racing cars that had some sort of contact in that incident. Although Jesse Whittington got away mostly scot-free.
Yeah, he's able to keep the car out there and maintain this top 10, thankfully for him. But again, you go back to that original move. We're getting down to crunch time, and with the race recap, 7 cautions, 2 of those being stage breaks, 5 yellows. It's intensified tremendously. And when we take the green here, some of these drivers that got thrown out of the top 10, like Isaac Mock, Joe Sanchez, the guys that got caught up in that big wreck just a moment ago, they've got a lot of work to do if they want a shot. And the damage on some of these machines, you got to be careful who you pair up with. We saw the 27. He had heavy nose damage, and you got to know that that car can't lead the outside.
Last time we were at Daytona, we had a total of 9 cautions. In our last 200 lapper here at the World Center of Racing back in February of 2022, so to make that a total of 2 years, we had 13 cautions and 45 lead changes. We are 11 lead changes away from that record and about 6 cautions away from that record in 2022. I'm not sure whether 6 cautions are going to happen here. Bradley, you never know, though. There are still 6 laps to go. And we're going to have a restart inside 5 left with a possibility at green-white checkered attempts if we get another caution. And that's going to be a big one for the drivers. They have to adjust, and it's really going to turn up the intensity and probably the anxiety and desperation for others.
When you talked about the action that we had in real life tonight, we're starting to head towards that trend of just a shootout, a brawl at the very end of this race where we could see 3 wide for 0.003 of a second. I hope we do, but I hope that they can go from the remaining of this race because it's been a great one. And the less damaged cars, the more likely we're going to see a finish like that. So hopefully we can keep it together here for the remaining 6 laps. Well, 5 laps as it'll take the green. How about Eddie Smith, though, in 6th position? Sean Kalis, some of these guys that are up 20-plus positions at the end of this thing. Been quiet all night. Let's see if they can get up here and get the win.
Yeah, specifically the 87 of Eddie Smith. He started this race in 35th to start, and he's up 29 positions since the drop of the green flag, or I believe, and that might be a little more or less, but around that ballpark estimate. I'm not the best at math. I was a journalism major, but for Eddie Smith, a phenomenal run he's built up tonight from deep inside the top 35 with a possibility to win, or even then just a top 10. And while we get this final run to the green flag, Bradley, I have to ask you one more thing, because we've talked about teammates, how instrumental they are at helping you collectively set the rhythm for a race until the last laps, where you ditch them, you want to go for the race win yourself. We mentioned the domination in the first 2 stages by Fast Banana Racing. Now we've got Dropping the Hammer. All 4 of them inside the top 10. Steven Stempian, Ross Harlow, Alex Muscarella, and then 7th place Dakota Curtis. For anyone else sprinkled in the mix, what do you do to try and stop the main 4 group of Chevrolets?
Right now, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I've got the 48 who's been able to push people up front all night long. If he takes the outside, I'm going to the outside. That's where I want to be. If I'm the 3 of Harlow right now, coming off of turn 4, I'm going to hit that gas pedal and try to match that leader and keep that outside organized. Hopefully, Zach Wilson is on the same page, because if you let a hole happen here with less than 5 to go, someone's going to take it.
So here we go. 5 to go. From the World Center of Racing, it is Steven Stempian and Ross Harlow to the restart zone, to the green flag, final laps from Daytona.
Already finding the hole, the 3 drops down to the inside. Zach Wilson was not on the same page, and Eddie Smith with a checkup. The 7 of Progar into the back of him. They check up hard, and now Eddie Smith is left out to dry. The 94 Whittington jumps up in front of him.
Look at Whittington thread the needle in front of the 87 of Eddie Smith. He's going to get a monumental shove, and it's going to swerve them down this super stretch. Will it give them any momentum for those up front? For now, the answer is no. Stepien in full control. Smith and company back to the inside. Whittington left for dust in turns 3 and 4.
And now that makes the inside row about 8-9 cars deep. The 43 who got involved in that caution a minute ago, he's actually been involved in 2. He's sitting in 5th spot. He has the damaged 90 machine in front of him, Sean Kalis. But they are losing a little bit of ground here. If they're going to make a move, they need to get it going now. 4 laps to go.
It's all about how much time is left until somebody has had enough of running on the inside lane comfortably and says, I want to run at the top side. I want to make this a case for my first ever or maybe another Sunoco Cup Series win. We're starting to get more patrons up top. Muscarella is sideways. He was blinking in and out. He's in the middle of the field. Alexander Muscarella is torn up. And we've got another caution that will push us right into green-white checkered territory.
That's not how I wanted to see overtime. A connection issue there with the 48 car. 1 second you saw him. And that was a David Blaine kind of scenario where no one really knew where he was. And suddenly he's in front of the entire field sideways.
That's such a tough break for the 48 of Muscarella. Well, we got so used to seeing that Jimmy Johnson paint scheme all night long. Looking for his first win in the Sunoco Cup Series since early May of 2022 when he picked one up at Darlington Raceway. Here's a look at the replay. So this is in between his dropping the hammer teammates. Looks like a sandwich occurs here, and at the same time, this 48 will go through internet connectivity issues. Yeah, and he will lag back. Harlow fills up the space. And obviously, nothing intentional on behalf of Ross Harlow. Just the internet connectivity issues forced the 48 out of it and ultimately tore his car up.
I back it up a little bit deeper here. We're going to ride on board with the 3 car and show you what it looked like. This is the unfortunate scenario here with iRacing, is that if anybody has a connection issue, you're relying on internet, you're relying on people around you, but he's completely gone. You can see sparks, but that car blinks back in, and that's the end of that. You can't do anything about it.
You know, we mentioned mechanical gremlins that come about to the drivers that race in the real-life NASCAR series, whether it be the Cup, Xfinity, or Truck Series. Well, on iRacing, you don't have mechanical problems come about at random. You have internet problems be the real gremlin in this situation. And for Muscarella, that's what did him in. The 48 car goes sideways. He is eliminated from winning this race tonight at Daytona. And as we cross the start-finish line, we are officially extending this race past the 500-mile distance. We are getting into our first attempt of 3 at a green, white, checkered. So we will be still with the lights on from the iRacing official pace car. We will go at least 1 more. But now, Bradley, that eliminates 1 dropping the hammer teammate. Leaves Stepien and Harlow by themselves. Everyone else might see this as free bait and free money, too.
We see Justin Erb getting his lap back now as the lucky dog. Remember, he was a car during that second stage that was up towards the front. So this gives him an opportunity. And for every time we have this, that's going to add more drivers to this list that are going to be back on that lead lap. Stephen Harlow, another car that's strapped a lap down. He would be the next recipient if he stays in this position of 24th. Overall, it's been a great race, but now with the turbulence, the different drivers getting involved in this caution, unfortunately, the 48, who's been up front all night long, I see the chat right now saying that that's just, you know, it's a scenario that you can't predict that's going to happen. You have to have faith in your ISP.
And this is going to be big for Stepien because he has to play some Hall of Fame defense if he wants to hold on to this win, because at Daytona and really at any other super speedway, being first either here or coming out of 4 on the white flag is quoted by drivers as possibly the worst place to be, Bradley, because you'll get passed by somebody. Somebody's going to ditch you in the draft. There is going to be another driver there willing to take that spot away from you. There are only certain exceptions to the rule in situations that can occur here at these super speedways, but more often than not, if you're first out of 4, you're in deep trouble. For Stepien, does that thought come to mind?
Yeah, and hence why he's going to choose, it looks like, the outside here for this restart, possibly. Maybe has communication with the 43. You want to have a guy on your side, so if they've communicated in Discord, hey, push me, I don't have help now, you know that's kind of the mixed relationship here. If you've got a guy that's the defending champion of the inaugural race here on the inside, you're going to go with somebody else because he knows how to win here, and you don't want to be in that scenario.
And you also have two positives that emerge from Stempien choosing the outside. Why? Because he gets pushed by his teammate in Curtis, number one. But number two, he forces his teammate Ross Harlow to block any run that Sean Kalis and company have it. These three dropping the hammer teammates. So not only do you have the best pusher in a teammate if you're Steven Stempien, you have your teammate controlling the bottom lane if you don't get in front of them when you get to the green flag. So ultimately it's a win-win for the Drop in the Hammer Chevrolets. They want to make sure they can at least give themselves the best shot at winning. And while it may not be Stempien, it could be Harlow or Curtis, you know, they're going to give themselves a 100% surefire option of getting a Drop in the Hammer Chevrolet in victory lane, whatever they may have to do to get it. So we're going to be double file on the super stretch. We'll be in our first attempt at a green-white checkered. It will go like this in Sunoco Cup Series. Overtime, we'll go green with 2 laps to go, just like this. If the caution does come out before we get the white flag officially displayed to the leaders, we will reset and try again. And that will move up to 3 attempts. If we do exhaust all options and we get a caution on the final attempt at a green-white checkered before the leader has reached the white flag, that will signify the end of the race as the field is frozen. However, if the leader does get to the white flag before a caution is thrown and it stays green, we are running it to the end no matter what. We've gone 500 miles already. We can add a couple of more miles to the tally in the first race of Season 7. Steven Stempien, your race leader, in control over Ross Harlow, Dakota Curtis, Sean Kalis, Isaac Mock, and everyone else. Green flag, first attempt at overtime. A great start by Stempien and Harlow, and that 88 car swoops down low. Dakota Curtis is going to control whatever's left of that top side. They are basically even with Sean Kalis for around the top 3 out of turn 2. Curtis is loose. He's into the wall, right into the outside. He collects Cofield and Whittington. A bunch of others stack up on the back straightaway. We'll do it another time.
I was just letting you cook there, Kenneth. There was so much happening coming out of turn 1. The turbulence off of the 43 got touched at the wrong place, wrong time. You almost have to push like that, though, when it comes down to the very end of this race. Unfortunately, it gets turned sideways. And what you mentioned earlier, this car can snap out of your hands quickly. And we just saw it with the 43 car.
And tough for the 43 of Curtis, who gets turned there by the 47 of Isaac Mock as he was blocking whatever was that outside lane that had a bunch of momentum. And it started with the push out of 2. Not sure that was intentional at all by Isaac Mock. I believe obviously not. He was just pushing this 43 car. A desperation in the first attempt at overtime. And it was right here. That push out of 2 gets the 43 unsettled. It traveled him down the racetrack. And Bradley, that's where the 47 hooks onto the right rear. And that's all she wrote.
And a guy that had gotten a lot of that damage repaired, now back to the 6 car. We'll ride on board with him and show you how fast this happens.
Dustin Reeves getting hip checked. There's all the smoke billowing behind. Chris Progar getting collected. Joe Sanchez, we saw him go hard into the wall in our big one earlier tonight with around 15 laps to go. And unfortunately, after getting his car repaired, he does get a piece of the damage here.
Who was
Nowhere
that?
he could go.
That was the Red Bull machine. Who was in that? Was that the 16 car?
I believe that is. Yeah, Garrett Brown in that bright purplish yellow 16 machine. We'll look on board with him behind Sanchez.
He almost made it all the way through that.
Did he really get any damage, though? I don't think he did.
It's a little tap there on the right front fender. I think he's going to be okay. The Dark Horse Mustang can take a beating, but it's car in front of him definitely has damage. You can see it dragging the ground. That was the 6 machine. And I think there is a little bit there in that right front.
The Season 1 champ has seen it all over his tenure in this series. He saw it all right on that impact on the back straightaway and just fully floored it past and mostly made it through okay. As there's Curtis, his bruised number 43 machine on pit road. He has fallen to 19th on the racetrack, and what might be it for his chances at winning tonight's event from Daytona. We're going to stay under the caution flag and extend this race further past lap 205. As Steven Stepien will look forward to advancing again to what's going to be the second attempt at overtime here from the World Center of Racing. And Bradley, I can imagine either the anxiety or the thoughts of racing, they are certainly and exponentially growing here for Steven Stepien, because every single attempt that we go into overtime is more time that you're spending under yellow, and probably, Bradley, more time that you're spending thinking about what's going to happen in the next 2 laps.
And here's another factor that we kind of forgot about. Does the 88 car have enough fuel if we get another green-white checker? Because he's 42 laps on this stint, and yes, he's been clutching it for every one of these cautions, but we've been progressively extending that mileage, and they're past the window of what they would pit under green, and they'll be well past that if they have to race this out. So we had some people asking in chat. The answer is, this time around, I think so, but one more green-white checker, this could spell disaster here for the 88.
Stepien has gone through on 42 laps alongside Ross Harlow and what's going to be Sean Kalis in the top 3. Everyone else is around lap 37, 36, and the numbers get lower from there on the stints. How long they've been on the racetrack with their tank of fuel. Every attempt we have at overtime is every attempt that Stepien and Harlow have to pray that they do not run out of fuel either here or while we're under green. That's going to be the worst nightmare for either one of them as they're commanding both lanes to the restart. We'll do it all over again. Your attempt number 2 at overtime. It will be Steven Stepien, Ross Harlow, your front row. Sean Kalis, the race high 3rd. Isaac Mock in 4th. Zach Wilson, your 5th place car. Eddie Smith in the VSPEED Ford Mustang is 6th place. Jesse Whittington still surviving in 7th. So is Justin Winters in 8th. Brandon Banks and Curtis Kelly, your current top 10. Bradley Cooper, your final thoughts on this back straightaway before we get the green at the second attempt.
Let's get back to green flag racing. We did it so well in the first 2 stages. It's gotten really heated here in the last stage. But we know these guys are capable of it. They gotta let those nerves settle. At least get to the white flag so it can be official. Let's see if Steven Stepien can lock this race up. He's led a ton of laps tonight. 73 out of the 200. That's the vast majority, and confidently the most laps led. With some of these guys out of the picture, he's got teammates on the inside. I would have to say Steve Stepien in the 88 car, as long as he gets a good restart, he can drop down in front of that 3 car. They can dictate the end of this.
He wants to pull it out like Dale Jr. did back in 2014 at the Daytona 500. That paint scheme he's throwing back to on his Chevrolet. He wants to invoke some of that elation, some of that success, while his teammate Ross Harlow could steal it away from him in the final laps. Everyone else behind them have a shot at also dictating the end. Green flag with 2 to go. Second attempt at overtime from Daytona. A beautiful jump by Stepien gets him right in front of his teammate Ross Harlow. That's the plan they were devising under yellow. They work it beautifully into turn 1. Harlow will give him the shove. Entering the corner, Isaac Mock is the lone wolf up top. We've got another caution. They're crashing behind him, and it's another big stack up, and it's Justin Winters on his lid.
Now we're at the final overtime that we can have here tonight. The 22 down to pit road. He's going to have to tow. Back it up. We'll have to back it up a little bit further, but this is the second rollover we've had here tonight. And look, the Fast Medina machine that's been up front for every stage, it's not looking like the 71 of Curtis Kelly's going to have a car left here for the final laps.
There's the carnage in the corner. Again, it arrives from the outside lane. Look at that huge hit that Curtis gets. And even worse so, Justin Winters, who has that full flat underbody showing in the sun here in Daytona Beach, Florida. And this is while still getting to full swing. They're grabbing the gears. They're entering turn 1. The 22 is going to float high, and the 71 is going to come down low. So right here is Eddie Smith moves underneath. That was a push, Bradley, from the 55 of Sanchez. I think that propelled the 71 into winners.
Yeah, the 71 was just along for the ride. He maybe didn't want to go into the back of the 22, but he didn't really have a choice. He had a car heavy on his bumper, and that's what you're going to see on these final restarts because everybody's ready to go. They know they can't afford to lift for anything. If there's a hole, you take it.
And there's Curtis, all torn up. Justin Winters going end over end. His car also demoralized here, and his race surely over. At 71, you have to give him so much credit. The winner at Atlanta to open season 6 a year ago. Unfortunately, won't be able to close this one out with high hopes. And Kelly had been one of those guys, specifically of the Fast Banana Camp, that opened things up on the outside lane, that made great runs that were worth remembering and ultimately got them a lot of stage points. And now he will be out of it here as we'll cross the line and we'll extend this race further. I don't know who else is in the top 10 based off of these crashes, Bradley. Some of the Fast Banana Camrys that we haven't seen in a while. Colin Forrester in the 31 car, Austin Reedy in the 96. They're not out of this quite yet either.
I mean, after the first set of green-white checkers, these guys were kind of out of it, but the more that we have accidents and the more damaged cars we get out on the racetrack, these guys are actually looking pretty good for a top 10 at the very least. However, they also have to keep it together for this make it to the white flag moment. And I mean, based off of what we've seen here on these last couple restarts, we might not make it to that. So they're going to have to maintain this.
Well, this is all it's going to be, as we are still under the lights on the iRacing official pace car. So we're going to take at least another lap before we set the field together and get this officially organized for what will be the last run under green till the end of this race. Mind you, if we do get a caution flag on this final attempt before the leader catches the white flag, the field will be frozen, and that will be it. If Stempien is the leader, by the time the caution comes out before the white flag is displayed, well, then he will bring his number 88 Chevrolet Camaro to a race victory here at Daytona. As there's Logan Sturgeon, driver of the number 26, who comes back into this race. He runs in 16th place after starting in 31st, and after being hit quite a few times, being involved in a pretty substantial wreck earlier in the race, could have a shot at top 15 territory. I guess that's how it is, Bradley, in these types of races.
Instead of come back for a little checkup there with, I believe, that Shoemaker and the 33 of Harlow got into the back of him, but yeah, they were shouting him out in chat. I thought I'd show him exactly where he was, and yeah, I wouldn't say a comeback for the podium, but at least mitigated the damage, and he's sitting here in 16th. He has a shot at the top 10. Anything can happen here.
You know, it's one of those stories, Bradley, of super speedway racing where you can get involved in a crash, and then next thing you know it, you're back in a decent position to get some good points. I mean, Logan Sturgeon's in just outside the top 15. If he gains a couple of more spots, if drivers crash in front of him and he's not involved, might be an easy top 10, or maybe a best case scenario, a top 5 finish. So you really never know what happens at the end of these big races.
You don't, and you could see the C's part here. The leaders could get into something. I doubt it, but it can happen. You could see the top 5 suddenly into the outside wall, and you're sitting back here in 15th. Suddenly you're 8th. So you got to predict that. And I'm seeing some heavily damaged cars here. The 90 still got that cave-in there on the front nose. It looks like that's more of a Camry there with that flat front end. And you've got heavy damage there on the 87. Eddie Smith is just surviving right now, trying to keep this top 10 for the end of this race. Alex Huffman, who was involved in some of that, he's got a little damage. There's not very many cars that have been untouched here in the remaining 70 laps of this third stage.
A lot of the stories that will emerge here from Daytona Beach, Florida after tonight, which we are almost into the midnight hours of what's going to be February 26, 2024. We're really happy that you're still with us here on VSPEED, but a lot of the stories that will emerge out of Daytona after tonight, a lot of them will be how I bruised my way to a finish here at Daytona, how I limped a race car that had some sort of damage on it, got involved in some sort of wreck to come home either with a good finish or if those cars did not live long enough to tell the tale. Final green-white checkered attempt here from Daytona Beach. It's Steven Stempien and Ross Harlow, the drop in the hammer teammates, in control of the inside and outside row 1. Zach Wilson, Sean Kalis, Isaac Mock the rest of the top 5. A caution before the white flag will end it. The white flag will let us run it out to the very end. Pace car pivots to the left of pit road. Steven Stepien, Ross Harlow to the restart zone. Green flag in the final attempt at overtime. And they stacked up largely on the inside lane. Stepien is going to have the momentum. Gets right in front of his teammate Ross Harlow. A better organization by the top end. Zach Wilson going for turn 2.
Up here on the outside, he has the momentum. There's a little 2-car breakaway on that inside line. They finally hit 5th gear down the backstretch. Nothing's happening. We might make it to the white flag.
They are checking up on that outside lane, but for the moment, no push nor shove to make a caution happen. Forrester's going to split Isaac Mock, make it 3 wide, now 4 wide. Joe Sanchez in the middle, they're wrecking in 3 and 4. Caution flag is out on a huge pileup out of the final corner. And Steven Stepien is going to cross the line and unofficially win the season opener for the Sunoco Cup Series at Daytona.
And he's even collected after the win. I'd be cheering right now. I'd be losing control. Biggest race of the season here for Stepien. Congratulations to him. And an unbelievable finish here. I thought maybe we would make it to the white flag there, but we'll go back and take a look at that in just a moment.
They go right behind the iRacing official pace car. We'll take a look at that huge crash that brings out the final caution in this race. Certifies the win for the 88 of Steven Stepien. And that is hard to decipher who's in that wreck just because of the carnage and the amount of smoke that completely overwhelms the environment. Here they'll go 4 wide. Isaac Mock is on the outside. Colin Forster splits him down there. Joe Sanchez in the mix as well. And that is Austin Reedy who gets hooked directly into the wall. Everyone else gets involved. Garrett Brown almost goes up and over. And as the pace car comes out of 4 to the trial, under pacing, Steven Stepien will get his 6th career Sunoco Cup Series win and take Season 7 by storm here at Daytona.
Again, shout out to Steven Stepien. I know Harlow and those guys, they wanted to race it out, try to plan that move. We made it an extra, I would say, 2,000 feet there. We got about halfway around the racetrack. But ultimately, he kept it up front. He was in the right place. We started to wonder about fuel and all these other factors. He stayed calm and collected. He's got a smile on his face now.
I mean, you would have loved to see this race. You would have loved to see this race, Bradley, end on the green for sure. Everyone would have. But he'll take what he can get. And as they cross the start-finish line, that gives open room for Steven Stepien to celebrate his win here at the Daytona International Speedway. Picked the perfect scheme to do it. With the Dale Jr. 2014 500 winning colors, Stepien the winner here from the World Center of Racing.
How much excitement do we have here tonight? All the lead changes, you can go back on the recap and see 34 of them. Most of our cautions happening in that final stage. It was clean and green for the vast majority of this race. And even after all the factors that you throw into the mix, you still have no idea here at Daytona who's going to get that win. The 88 car, maybe out of fuel here. I don't know if he, yeah, that might have been all she wrote here. Nope, he's backfired.
He's got it. He's got it. He slowed down to a stop. Not sure if he has enough. Oh, no, I think he's out. I think he's out before he can fully celebrate. He was on fumes. And his strategy call was enough to save him fuel to make it to the last attempt at a green-white checkered. And that's all he needed. Ross Harlow and Sean Kalis, I think they also, too, have run out of fuel. They can't even push the race winner or help in the celebrations. They are crawling to the start-finish line. Well, never mind. Stepien just fooled us all. He still has enough fuel to celebrate to the trial. Steven Stepien, his 6th career win and first at the World Center of Racing. He brings us tonight's Sunoco winning moment. More high-performance racing engines rely on Sunoco race fuels than all others combined, and for over 50 years, Sunoco has been fueling the top race car drivers around the world with high-quality performance fuels they can trust to power them to the checkered flag. Sunoco, fueling victories from track to tank. And there's the closing lap that gave Steven Stempien the victory. The big crash in 3 and 4, and the 88 car clearing away, gets the caution flag. The field is frozen, and it's a drop in the hammer. 1-2 as they cross the start-finish line. That was for the white flag lap, and picked up the checker right behind the iRacing official pace car. And the 88 of Steven Stempien, what a performance for him to hold on in a high-pressure scenario under multiple green-white checkered attempts, and hangs on Bradley for the win.
We have post-race interviews with your top three. You are watching VSPEED. The Sunoco Cup Series has concluded. It's 200 laps here tonight. Got to get into that full mindset of this race with the 500 miles into overtime here tonight, the World Center of Racing. We're going to take a quick break and have that top three right after this.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller,
Yeah,
needed F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
After 25 extra miles run here at the World Center of Racing, after our scheduled 200-lap event, 500-miler went into overtime, we have a winner, and it's Steven Stempien, driver of the number 88, his 6th career victory. He takes the win under yellow, under a big-time crash at the exit of Turn 4. He wins over his teammate, Ross Harlow. That makes it a drop in the hammer Chevrolet. 1-2 for both of them. Sean Kalis, what a run from 26 at the starting grid, and brings his TOW racing car to 3rd place at the end. So does Jesse Whittington, survives the carnage at the closing lap and finishes in 4th. Zach Wilson, contentious all race long, specifically in the second half. He brings the 51 home inside the top 5. Behind them will be Joe Sanchez in the 55 car. Eddie Smith for VSPEED is in 7th place. A nice top 10 run for him after starting in 35th. He is the biggest mover here tonight from Daytona. Colin Forrester went through hell and back to get to an 8th place finish at the checkered flag. Logan Sturgeon is in 9th, and Dakota Curtis, Bradley Cooper rounds out tonight's top 10.
11th spot going to go to the number 30 machine, Wyatt Brackett. Justin Erb is going to finish in 12th, kept easily. A lot of these guys that we mentioned in the second stage having good races outside the top 10. Not a terrible day, but a recovery You got Austin Reedy in the 14th position. Could have been a lot worse. He got wrecked there coming out of turn 4, but able to hold on to a top 15. Brandon Banks in 15th position. Garrett Brown 16th. Isaac Mock, one of those cars that was up front most of the day, finishing 17th. Alex Huffman 18th. Richard Swavely, 19th position. And then Chris Shoemaker is going to be the last car on the lead lap in 20th.
And there's where we dive into the sea of cars, a lap down or more, starting with Stephen Harlow in his first race in the Sunoco Cup Series. He is a lap down in 21st. Bill Schoonover is back in 22nd. Aaron Adcock is in 23rd in the 17 machine. Brad Fulham will be 2 laps down in 24th. Justin Hendry, 25th. Ray Rogers behind him in 26th. A really tough ending for the newly formed Po-Man Motorsports team. A lot of them suffering these poor finishes, including Charles Feltz is in 27th. Curtis Kelly is in 28th. Chris Progar in 29th. And rounding out the top 30, rookie driver Jonathan Cofield.
Rounding out the rest of this field, you have the 6 machine of Dustin Reeves. He was involved in a lot of contact here tonight. He will finish 5 laps down. 7 machine of Chris Progar, who had recovered his race several times here tonight after kind of missing the stints on pit road and getting off cycle. He was up in the top 5. He'll finish 32nd, though. Alex Muscarella with a connection issue. He will come home 33rd. James Kunkel, 45 machine, 34th. Shane Wyatt, 35th. Austin Shoemaker, 36th. Mario Miranda, a car that led a lot of laps tonight. He went end over end into turns 1 and 2. He'll finish 37th. 38th, Lawson Peel, another car that we expected to be up towards the front. Hung back, got some damage. Not good for him tonight, 38th. And rounding out the field is Casey Knighton. He was the first DNF of the night here at Daytona.
So that's your 39 car field to close out this 210 lap affair from the World Center of Racing. And with that, we will talk to the 3rd place finisher. We'll go 3rd to 1st on our way up to victory lane. We'll start with the 3rd place finisher, Sean Kalis, who started 26th tonight and ends up on the podium in the closing lap. Sean, I mean, could you have expected this race to go the way it did, not only overall, but for you, with the damage on the front end, with running in the mid-pack for most of the race, and all the strategy calls to find yourself in the podium position on the white flag?
No, there was a lot of just, circumstances that happened, got us up there. But, happy that we did. Some cautions fell our way and put us in the position. So there was still a lot of speed in the car. So I still could have done something there at the end had it gone green to the checker. But happy with a 3rd place, definitely.
And of course, a lot of carnage in the last stint of the race. But for the most part, stages 1 and 2 went fully green. You found yourself directly in the middle of that. What was your mindset like in sort of trying to position yourself in the right place for stage 3 prior to all the cautions coming out? And how worthy was it for that strategy to pull out the way it did and helped you get this finish?
Whole idea was just keep the car clean, keep all the fenders on until the end and be there for the opportunity. And we did that, and we were there. So we had a chance.
Well, you had the chance, and unfortunately, it ends under yellow, but it's a 3rd place effort here from Daytona International Speedway. I'm sure that's going to give you a lot of momentum in 2 weeks' time when we go to the first 1.5 mile race of the season at Las Vegas. Sean, before we let you go, anybody in particular you want to thank for tonight's run?
I'd like to thank the other guys, race with tonight over at Toe and friends at Dropping the Hammer. And I'd like to thank Dakota for the awesome paint. And check out KaylaSynthetics.com for your AMSOIL needs and SKSimRacing.com for sim racing product reviews.
Well, Sean, we certainly appreciate the time. We want to wish a warm congratulations on the 3rd place here from Daytona. Surely that's going to mean a lot for Las Vegas. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time in Nevada. But until then, congratulations on the podium here from Daytona.
Thank you. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
So that's Sean Kalis, driver of the number 90, who comes home in 3rd. What a great run for him. We didn't expect him to be up front for most of the race, but then at the end, surely made a statement, showed why he belonged in this category, and managed the restarts quite well to finish inside the podium. We'll talk to the driver who comes home in 2nd behind his Dropping the Hammer teammates. That is Season 4 champion Ross Harlow, who's joined alongside by Bradley Cooper.
Well, Ross Harlow, I've heard this name, I've heard this voice, I've worked production before, and I know you're a fast driver. But here tonight, after defending the title of being the inaugural winner of the season, you let a teammate get up there and play a little defense. How does it feel, though, to come home second to start out this season?
I mean, it couldn't be better. It's as good as a win, really. I told Stempy once we were all lined up, I'm going to stick to him like, well, I'd probably not shouldn't be saying that on air, but I was going to stay right on his tail there and push him, as far as I could. If we were able to race and get in a good spot off of 4 on the last lap, I might have made a move, but really was just happy to be running out front at Daytona. New team, new number, new teammates for the most part. I really just had a blast tonight. There were a couple of times just really was kind of struggling just to keep moving the car forward. Think I actually wound up as far back as 30th or 31st, all the way back there. But just stayed patient, stayed with it, and worked with my teammates. Had a lot of faith in them, a lot of trust in them. Great group of guys. Probably, probably 3 of the best drivers in the league. Just had a good time with it tonight.
Oh, with the new team dropping the hammer, as they are calling it, you've got some new drivers that you're associated with, some new teammates, and it's always a comforting feeling to have that guy that you can count on, whether you finish next to him or in front of him, whatever the case may be. Now, you came into play here tonight in the top 3. You said you fell as far back as 30th. How frustrating is it as a driver is it to keep going, knowing that, some of these guys are running away with the race?
Oh, it's tough as hell, especially at a track like Daytona, Talladega, super speedways like that, where it is, it's really just kind of finding a gap and picking the right line. And when you're dropping that hard and you just feel, start beating yourself up. You want to start beating yourself up because it just feels like it's on you, right? It's not a speed issue because everybody's working the same draft. So clearly it's a you issue. So it's tough to just keep motivated, keep going. You get in situations like that, but just got to keep the faith. And I mean, it's what we did 525 miles tonight. Real long race, not worth getting too down in the dumps before lap 100.
Now, keeping your head on right, that's the secret recipe here to come home second with Ross Harlow in the number 3 machine. Is there anyone you could think to shout out here tonight for that performance?
Oh, big time. First off, got to thank the sponsors, Till Valhalla Project, G&G's Gift, Team Watson Racing Setups, Millie Mermaid's Trove, all my teammates dropping the hammer podcast, Stempy, Alex, Dakota. That whole DTH kind of core team is about as good as it gets. Like I said, big thank you to my mom and dad, and of course the biggest thank you to my my lovely fiance who lets me take 3.5 hours out of my Sunday nights to come and do what I love. And couldn't ask for more. Thanks to all you guys up in the broadcast booth as well, and the whole admin team with the Sunoco Cup Series. None of this would be possible without you guys, and real excited to be working with you this season.
Well, we are excited as you are, and we appreciate your time, Ross. Thank you for the awesome race, and we'll see you next time at Las Vegas.
See you next week, buddy.
That's your second place finisher of the night, Ross Harlow, in the number 3. And finally, that brings us down to victory lane, where Kenneth Bueno has caught up with the 88 machine, Steven Stempien, victorious here tonight.
Here I am with the now 6-time Sunoco Cup Series winner, Steven Stempien. And Steven, it's been since early June since you've picked up a win. It was back at the Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. You weren't able to get back to victory lane ever since, but you lead the last 36 laps of this race, and you took control. You win this one outright, under caution. What does that mean to you? What are your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions after winning the opening race of Season 7 here at Daytona?
Oh man, I'm super pumped. I know you guys caught me before I was really getting going there. Just taking a moment to collect everything. It's a hard race to win. You got to be lucky, and you got to have a little bit of skill to win at Daytona. And honestly, I was telling Ross before the interview, I was like, I don't think I've ever thought I'd win 500-mile Daytona race. It's hard. But hell, Dale Jr. brought me some luck today, man. This paint scheme 10-year anniversary a couple days ago brought me some luck. Super pumped, man. Great teamwork. That was a team win. You know, it wasn't just my win. It was a great job in the hammer win for the group there. That was we showed some dominance.
You know, I was about to bring that up, the Dale Jr. paint scheme that you brought out just for this race, and you bring up some of those emotions and the memories of that 2014 Daytona 500 win. You bring up a great point. I was about to ask you about that. Dropping the hammer, the new team rebranded from 0G. Obviously, some moves around. You lost to Mario Miranda. It's you, Alex Muscarella, Dakota Curtis, and Ross Harlow. And at one point, all four of you guys were inside the top 10, near more so the top 5 in the winning laps of the race. So how important was that for you to at least feel a little more comfortable? What were you feeling as your teammates were around you and just trying to set the pace for the rest of the event?
You know, I felt good. We're all pretty good pushers when it comes to plate tracks. We work really well together. Me and Alex showed early, on the high line, we were trying to make it work. We were making it work at the very beginning. And then in the middle, the high line just wasn't doing anything. And, we just, this package right now, you have to have a really good third guy. And big props to Sean Kalis on those last couple of laps because, without that third guy, the second guy can't really close in. It's hard for just two guys to make it work. I'm sure you guys saw that with me and Alex on the high line, a good part of the race. It wasn't a good, I'll tell you one thing, a good story. Halfway through that, towards the end when everybody pitted and I stayed out, I was cussing these guys. I was like, I thought we were staying out. The gameplay was to stay out. And me and Progar were the only two that stayed out. But, hey, hell, it worked out. We were able to come down at 160 together as a team. We all got together. And, that really made the race right there. Coming down 160, having a clean pit stop. Again, everybody together. And just put me in the front. And, I know how these guys feel, with the 3 green-white checkers, because I've been on the other side of that too, where it sucks you can't race it out. But hell, I'm happy. There's a smile on my face tonight. I'm super. It's I want to say it's emotional because it's a sim, but it's Daytona 500. We did 500 miles at Daytona. It's hard to do. Sat here for 3.5 hours, 4 hours, and I'm super pumped up. Just ecstatic to start the season that way.
You did 525 miles at Daytona, 210 laps. That is a long time. We started at 8 o'clock. It's now 12:03 on the Eastern Seaboard. So it's been a really long race, and you handled that endurance with fashion and style and a lot of pace behind your 88 Chevrolet Camaro. On behalf of everyone that makes it happen for you, who do you got to thank, and how momentous is this as you go into Las Vegas, a track that you've won at before, most notably last season?
Yeah, I opened up the last season there with a win there. That was my first win to get me going there. Looking forward to that, and just working with this team. All the guys that dropped the hammer in tow, TOW, all those guys. My guys at my dealership. My sales guys. My couple of guys, Jamal, John, Blake. They were out there watching, texting me like crazy. Shout out to those guys. My wife, my lovely wife, love her. My son Cal, my soon-to-be daughter in a couple of months. And my father, obviously, for the support. And then you guys, appreciate the broadcast. Great way of bringing VSPEED tonight, baby. 88 gets the dub. We're looking forward to many more of those this season. This is good momentum here. So,
well, you start 2024 in Season 7, no doubt, on the right foot with the Dale Jr. colors in victory lane here at the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Steven, on behalf of all of us at VSPEED and on the broadcast team, congratulations on your first win of the season. We'll hope to see if you can replicate that once again when we go to Las Vegas in 2 weeks' time. But until then, enjoy the celebrations. You're a Daytona 525 winner tonight.
Appreciate it, my man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Catch the podcast tomorrow. Pretty sure, so we'll see you guys.
That podcast is going to be jumping after this race on Monday. Steven Stempian, the winner here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. He will occupy victory lane and hold that crown, Bradley, for at least another week. We'll take next week off on Sunday. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time on March 10th for some action at our first 1.5 mile racetrack of the season. But before we talk a bit about what's to come at Las Vegas, But what did we just see at Daytona? A stellar race, ultimately ended under caution, something that we really wanted it to end under green for sure, but Steven Stempien controlled the pace of that race, no doubt. Almost 40 laps led, and he had the lead since lap 174. That's textbook dominance at the end of a race like this.
Yeah, and to have a teammate there on your inside to get that kind of dominance there at the end of this race. You saw the fast banana drivers, you saw a variety of different people up front with 30+ lead changes. It's hard to dictate your run and set the tempo. But that last stage came down to the 88, and he had enough fuel to get across the line. Ross Harlow, I think he was more excited about it than Stempien was, because he was like, this is a win for me.
And Steven Stempien, who gets his first win since early June of 2023, will have the best foot forward for Season 7 of the Sunoco Cup Series. Next week, we go to the 1.5 mile at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Again, that will be March 10th, 2024. We'll see you in 2 weeks on Sunday. That will come your way at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on the VSPEED YouTube channel. Bradley and I will be with you for the coverage, as we'll see who can take control of Las Vegas with all the grip and all of the skill that you need to drive that racetrack. Who can come out on top? But that would do it for our coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series and the opening race of Season 7 from the Daytona International Speedway. Here on VSPEED, we certainly thank you for joining us, and on behalf of everyone that made this possible, Dakota Curtis and the members of the Sunoco Cup Series, for Adam Baker for running things behind the scenes at VSPEED, and for my producer / color commentator in the booth tonight, Bradley Cooper, I'm Kenneth Bueno. So long from Daytona. Congratulations to Steven Stempien on his 6th career Sunoco Cup Series win. We will see you at Sin City, Las Vegas, 2 weeks from tonight.
And here comes Milo, big run out of 4. He's going to be there.
Tristan Martin's there. Cannot count out to 37.
Oh! Cabot, where did he come from? Here comes Zwack.
A push from the 33.
It's a drag